Happy Tuesday, everybody. Happy Tuesday. What's going on, Demetrius? What's going on, Hakeem? Shout out to you guys as always. Great moderators, great supporters. Y'all know the drill. If you're on here, hit the like button, like, share, subscribe. Tag anybody on this discussion. Share it with someone that you think may find it interesting. We have a lot to unpack today, a lot to go over. I'll see how things flow. If I have enough time and if it feels right, I'll open up the call lines. And if not, it should be good. We'll still cover off some really good content. So again, like, share, subscribe. And yes. I mean, by now I'm sure you guys have heard about the viral therapist, Black female therapist who yet again went viral for saying some things that were problematic at best, misandrist at worst. And there's a lot to unpack here because the way the whole thing, I think, evolved was quite interesting. And the way she has responded because of some of the feedback, I think it really, honestly, I think it shows a lot. It reveals a lot. And I know she's just one person, but given the context like that, over the last year or so, we have seen just horrible PR regarding Black female therapists, Black mental health therapists in particular. And I think in a time such as now where people need mental health more than ever, and people are really vulnerable because of different things going on in the society, impacts of the economy, issues with relationships, things of that nature, now more than ever, I think there needs to be a safe place created for women and men to find mental health professionals who are going to help support them in their time of need. And unfortunately, it seems while people are the most vulnerable, you're seeing this toxic element come out in the mental health profession that really needs to be addressed. So we're going to be talking about that today. Again, guys, like, share, subscribe. Thanks for being here. And shout out to you, Hakeem, for the love and support on the Super Cash app. You are such a loyal supporter. I really appreciate you being a great moderator and being a great supporter and all of the above. Remember, I really appreciate people like you. You're what keeps me coming back here. So really, really good. Okay, so I think I'm going to just get right into it because I have a lot of receipts, a lot of things that I want to go over with you guys to kind of help give context of not only what happened, how everything unfolded, and then what I think this means for today. Now, I will say this real quick. I'll reiterate, it is incredibly important. I think we'll make sure I have my lights on. It is incredibly important in this time more than ever that when it comes to mental health and when it comes to people getting the resources that they need, that there is a safe place created. One of the things that I think we've all heard is that, you know, Black people need therapy, Black men in particular need therapy. And, you know, a lot of the complaints we hear from other Black women is that these men won't go to therapy, these men won't get the help that they need. We hear that time and time again. But what we're seeing right now is that, yeah, probably one of the reasons some of these men may not be so gung-ho about going to therapy or excited to go about therapy is because we're seeing that it's not necessarily a safe place for them. And that is a huge problem, in my humble opinion, for there to be a need and yet there not to be a safe place to provide it. And my thing is, look, if you want to talk about men being able to be emotionally available or being able to open up, being able to share the intimate sides of themselves, being able to share the emotional side of themselves, first of all, there has to be a safe space created for them to do it. And then we can't emasculate them in the process. And this is this theme that I think I've just noticed in general, where women will say, look, we want men to open up, or we want men to be emotionally available. We're only going for emotionally available men. So these are all the different rules that women are putting out there. I'm like, okay, granted. But at the same time, they may go and do things or act in a way that is incredibly emasculating. And it shows me today that there is, I think just in general, there is this lack of understanding. And there's this resistance to the fact that at the end of the day, men, straight women operate differently. The way that we think is different, right? The way our emotions are processed is different. And I think sometimes women, we can come in with this like superiority complex when it comes to our emotional well-being and our ability to set boundaries and our ability to be able to voice our expressions, whatever, and not understand that men have emotions too, and the way they move with their emotions is different, and it's to be respected. But if we don't create space for them to do that, and then if they do try to get help, or if they do try to, look for help, we emasculate them in the process, or we demonize them, or we shame them in the process, then it's like we're now creating the problem, or we're leading to the problem. And so I've seen this theme a lot, and I think this situation was a prime example of how Black women can say in one instance they want something, or say that they want to create a better space, or say they want to help, but then undermine their own progress, undermine their own success, undermine the very thing they say that they want. And so, again, a lot to unpack here. Yes, to stop the curve of radical feminists. Totally, completely agree here. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I have receipts. I'm just going to start by bringing up some of the different receipts that really caused this current therapist to come under fire. Let me see, because I think this really starts to get into ultimately the fact that you have a lot of women, and this is women in positions of power, right? Again, when you talk about misandry in the media, when you talk about misandry in some of these institution places, this is what men are starting to push back against. This is what men are trying to say, hey, we can't say a misandry is a myth. We can't say that it's fake. We can't say that it's false. When you have people in positions of power, whether it may be your healthcare professional, whether it may be, I don't know, an editor of a major news source. You have people in positions of power who legitimately don't like men, and who have the power and the resources, not only to get their message across, but to harm men in the process. And we can't act like that does not exist. And this is a prime example of, I think, that being the case. Okay, see if I can actually find document. Let's see. Sorry, guys, bear with me. Present. Wait, where'd you go? Okay, guys, bear with me. I'm trying to find exactly. I have so many files these days that I'm working through. Oh, I know that should be on the desktop, actually. Sorry, guys. Where'd you go? Okay. All right. So I want to start off by reading. This is actually a comment. I will be the first to say I don't pretend to be a mental health expert by any counts. I am not. I'm just a person with an opinion. That's it. But I respect mental health, and I like to be open and learn and talk to professionals who actually are in the industry. And so, I put some posts out there trying to weigh in. I've talked to a few mental health therapists just to try to get their feedback on whether or not the way this woman handled it is professional. So I'll bring up some of their feedback in a bit, but let's just get started with what happened. So here we have Nicole Lewis. I posted her on the community tab, and basically this is what started this whole thing. She dropped this tweet a couple of days ago, and it reads, "I'm no longer accepting male clients. They get in my email inbox and want me to prove why they should choose me as a therapist. No scheduled consultations or nothing to see if we are a good fit. I'm not the one or the two to prove my worth to anyone. We would not work well together because you already trying me, and I'm not above going off on nobody. If you try me because the therapeutic relationship starts, I know you out here being a menace to folks. And that's going to activate my nervous system. So now it's a wrap." So this is the tweet. This is the tweet that this professional therapist, right, put out regarding potential clients, that these potential clients are activating her nervous system, and that if she gets in a session with them, she's going to go off. So therefore, she is not accepting male clients. So some of the pushback that I heard and were on this whole tweet, right, was you had some people who were just like, hey, this is a bit disrespectful. Like, you're just being disrespectful. Like, why would you say that? And then you had many other people who were just like, look, a woman has a right to set boundaries. She has a right to set boundaries. If she doesn't want to see somebody, therapists have specialists. Therapists have their own focus. They have their own emphasis. Her saying that she's not going to see male therapists is totally and completely within her right. Now, if you move on to the next one, let me see. I'll move on to the next one. If you move on to the next tweet, I want you to notice the tweet before that, because I think this helps set some context. Before she landed a tweet that says, "I'm no longer accepting male clients," prior to that, she said, "I'm creating a membership for Black women wanting to improve their mental health." So she's already letting you guys know that she's looking like she's wanting to focus on Black women. Listen, I have no problem with that. If there's a Black female therapist that wants to primarily focus on Black women, I see absolutely nothing wrong with that. And I see absolutely nothing wrong with a person setting boundaries, specializing in a particular area. I mean, if you look for a therapist, you will find that therapists generally do have areas. Some, focus maybe on, I don't know, anxiety. Some may focus on disorders. Some may focus on overcoming addiction. So it's like usually therapists do have specialists or specialties. So that is not the problem. But I want you to notice the timing of this. She started a tweet by saying, "Hey, I'm going to be creating a membership for Black women." And then right after that, she goes into this tweet that she claims is about setting boundaries, but in reality, I think is very much about really showing her true colors. Now, here's why I think, first off, this tweet is incredibly problematic. I mean, on its own, just forget the fact that, over the last year or so, you've had, I think Cherie Rawls was one of them. And then there was another therapist, I can't think of her name, but it was another Black female therapist who said that she basically had a hard time empathizing with men and seeing them as human beings deserving of empathy. So you've had the context right now, this whole conversation is there's already been Black female therapists who have been shown to be misandrist. But let's just pretend for 2 minutes that does not exist. Let's pretend that there was not a Cherie Rawls, there wasn't that other therapist, there wasn't this whole conversation about whether or not Black female therapists can be trusted. Let's pretend that does not exist. And let's just focus on the tweet alone. What I find problematic about this tweet, it's not her setting boundaries. It's not the fact that she wants to set boundaries. That's not the problem with this tweet. The problem with this tweet to me is the fact that it is incredibly disrespectful and it is really demeaning. And what I'm saying is, what I noticed is that there's a lot of women out there who legitimately do not know how to get along with men. And it shows in the way that they treat them. I looked at this tweet and automatically I was just like, this woman does not sound like she has a strong heterosexual male that she is in relationship with, whether it be a brother, I don't know, a father, an uncle. It doesn't sound like she has a strong man in her life who she would help understand how men work. Because nobody is mad. I didn't see any Black men out there saying, "We're mad that you don't want to see us. We're so sad." Like, no. What the main pushback was the disrespect. If you're looking right here, it's like, so she's shaming them. No scheduled consultations, nothing to see for a good fit. I'm not going to prove my worth to anyone. So it's like, already we know she's triggered. She's triggered. She is triggered by these potential clients who are looking to see whether or not she would be a good fit. She's triggered because they're not approaching her in the way that she thinks is worthy. Right? Then she moves on. It says, "We would not work well together because you already trying me and I'm not above going off on nobody." So it's like she has a chip on her shoulder. She's already telling you, y'all can hear the attitude in this. Y'all can hear the neck rolling and the roll island and the finger. We can all hear it. We can literally hear and see how she would be saying this. She says, if you try me before the therapeutic relationship starts, I know you out here being a menace to folks. Please do not tell, again, please don't tell me that this tweet right here is totally and completely professional, and that there is no ounce of shaming, no ounce of insulting, no ounce of popping up at the mouth. Like, the attitude in this one is like, it's just all across the board. The attitude is off the chains. And then, of course, at the bottom, y'all gonna activate my nervous system. Man, it's like you're a mental health professional. You're a mental health professional. So that means you professionally sit down and talk and work with people who have illnesses. So it's like, if the thought of you talking to somebody about their illnesses is going to activate your nervous system, it's like, I mean, are your nerves sensitive? And should somebody with such sensitive nerves be in the mental health perspective? So it's just like, forget about all the context of the Sharice Rawls, right? Or whatever her name is. And all the other Black female therapists who've gone viral for saying misandrous things. Forget about them. Let's just pretend they don't exist. Based upon this tweet alone, I'm like, how can you tell me that this is professional and that this is respectful and that this is non-bias? So I'm like, anybody, I think, with, 2 cents who doesn't have a bias, who maybe isn't a misandrist, will look at this and be like, this is a bit unprofessional. But here's the thing, that if you want to see this and give it a benefit of a doubt and say, okay, maybe she's new, maybe she really is just new, and I see somebody in here, ghetto professional, she's on that ghetto professional vibe. Okay. If you want to take that stance and say, look, maybe she doesn't understand that she's coming off misandrous, she doesn't understand that she's coming off disrespectful. Like, if you want to be that person to give her benefit of the doubt, okay. But here's where it really gets bad. So you keep on moving forward, and then you see her doubling down when people start pushing back and being like, hey, that was kind of offensive, right? For you to say those things about clients, predominantly Black male clients. And then she starts to double down. She says, no, setting boundaries doesn't sit well with everybody. So and then over here, she says, there are some people making burner accounts just to attack me. Hate that for them. Here's one that she started to retweet because she's starting to feel the pressure. She says, I truly hate the way Black adults target girls, both men and women. Girls are minors, but they are expected to know better than to be in relationships with 37-year-old men. You don't hold the men accountable at all. We see these men go after the girls, but you excuse them. She retweeted that. So already it's like, not only is there the tweet, but then there's a response, and we're starting to see more and more and more that, like, this person obviously has a bias towards men. She obviously has a trait. She literally retweeted something that said, men are not held accountable. Okay, so women aren't held accountable either. So are we now suggesting that we live in a society where men are exclusively the problem and women are all victims, and that is the paradigm? Because if that's the case, then it is impossible for you to go in and be a therapist and be unbiased. And that is supposed to be your duty as a therapist, right? Is to be unbiased, is to come there and be essentially a blank slate for the person to be able to unpack and to unravel some of the more intimate, deeper things about themselves so that they can be mended and be emotionally well and whole. But if you have already come in as a therapist and you are already biased and you already assume that these men that you're looking at or you're talking to are already abusive, or you have that in the back of your mind, whether it be subconscious or conscious, again, you're not unbiased. And we're seeing this all throughout the tweet. Like, as I mentioned before, if you wanted to give her the benefit of the doubt and say, okay, look, she's just a ghetto professional. She don't know no better. She's still working things out. That was a little salty, but she just don't know. If you wanted to take that stance and give her the benefit of the doubt, the more she continues to talk, the more we see what's really going on. Right? So you see her defending herself. Then you see her start to retweet people who are not only defending her, but now saying men are the problem. They need to be held accountable. Then we continue on. It says, okay, apparently I've made it to Facebook and folks are calling for my license because I don't want to work with men. And then she's excited that her email list hit 1,000. Here's another one that she tweeted. It says, what if we just believed Black people when they say something is racist, women when we say something is misogynistic, disabled people when we say something is ableist, trans people when we say something is transphobic. It's not as radical as it seems, promise. What's interesting is you don't ever see Black men when they say something is disrespectful. Somehow Black men are never included in this intersectionality. They're never a part of the conversation. There is never a moment in which something was done to them that could be considered problematic. That is never a part of the equation. It's always, trans or women or the disabled or the obese or the ABC, X, Y, and Z, whatever marginalized group. But if it's a Black man, they're not in the conversation. They are automatically assumed to be either the oppressor or whatever the complaints are just invalid because they're just hoteps, because they're just misogynist. And misandry isn't real. This is what this therapist tweeted. She retweeted this. So again, if you wanted to give her the benefit of the doubt, which look, I did when I first watched, I was like, okay, this seems really unprofessional. But I'm like, is she new? Like, I was trying to figure out, I was like, okay, she just new. Does she not understand? So I was more like, let me try to seek understanding. I started talking to therapists. I'm like, can you help me understand? Can you help me unpack? Is this unprofessional? Because I don't want to make any judgments without knowing the full context. But like I said, as you continue to read and look at the tweets and look at her feedback, then you're just like, no, this is a problem. This is a problem. So let's continue. Here's another one. Do you think threatening me and being mean to me is going to make me want to see you as a therapy client? And then here's one. She says, a man just called my business line and said, hey, Nicole, you're a effing, fill in the blank. Hope you get deleted. Have a good day. All because I don't want to work with men anymore. This is why it's not safe for me. And so again, she's just talking about how she's getting threats. And so now it's becoming about, wow, I'm being threatened. I'm not being protected. This is disrespectful. I'm being disrespected. Woe is me. What's going on? Here's another one. It says, people think they deserve so much access to me. Men are harassing me for not being available to them when they have and never will reach out for therapy from me. Now, I mean, this to me didn't make any sense because it's like, you literally said you're not accepting men. So then now you're saying that men are harassing you but not reaching out for therapy. But I'm like, you just said that you'd want to accept them. So that tweet alone was just like, I don't understand what she's saying. But notice in this whole point, this entire point, she is a therapist and mental health professional, makes a tweet about people who are vulnerable, mentally ill, struggling with something, mentally unstable. She makes a tweet about mentally unstable men and how they are activating her nervous system. All kinds of shaming, all kinds of attitude in that conversation. She gets pushback. Now, my thought, now granted, I'm not a medical professional, right? But my thought as I'm thinking, okay, if I am in the profession where I deal with vulnerable people on a regular basis, I'm going to be sensitive to the fact that there's some individuals who may be mentally unwell, they're not in the right mind, and they might be easily triggered. So I'm not going to now say things that are going to help trigger them further. And if I do, I'm going to help try to mitigate or try to minimize the impact. I'm going to help try to alleviate the emotional load, right? I'm going to help try to create a safe environment so that they aren't further burdened, right? Like as a mental health professional, you're dealing with vulnerable people. So you want to make sure they are safe. This is my thought. So again, as I'm thinking if, again, I'm just like hypothetically, if I was a therapist and I say my truth, but now I'm getting all this pushback and feedback and people are acting erratically. It's like, could there be a possibility that maybe the way what you said or how you said it could come off offensive? Why not say, okay, maybe I'm sorry. Maybe I said that wrong. Maybe I was a little bit unprofessional. Maybe I came off as disrespectful. I'm sorry. I really didn't mean it this way. It didn't seem like there's any sense of remorse because again, if you're a mental health professional and your job is to make sure that people are emotionally taken care of, and then people are walking away feeling emotionally abused, can't there at least in some way, shape, or form being a sense of empathy or a sense of at least trying to understand why those individuals feel that way? I would think as a mental health professional, that is what you would do. Maybe you issue an apology or try to seek further clarification and say, hey, I'm sorry. I did not mean to offend you, men. You guys are all valuable, either this, or that. I just simply meant to say, I don't think I can offer you the best service right now. Like there could have been a way that was handled that would not have resulted in shaming men and shaming specifically Black men. Because best believe, as a Black woman living in Mississippi, the Deep South, where she's surrounded by predominantly Black people, she is seeing predominantly Black clients, Black male clients. So let's just keep it above. Let's just not try to act like, oh, she's not talking about all Black women. No, she's living in the Deep South in Mississippi as a Black woman. Let's not act like white non-Black men are going out of their way to try to speak with a Black female therapist. Let's not act like that's the case. So by all accounts, we know that this woman is speaking primarily to Black people. Not to mention, in her, if you look at some of her profiles, she says she specializes, and some of her tweets actually said that she specializes in helping to try to create safe spaces for Black folks, right, where they can be themselves. So this is the kind of environment that she created. So again, if you're a mental health professional and your job is to make sure that people are safe, that they feel safe, or that they learn how to create boundaries and learn how to have a healthy emotional framework, then you as a mental health professional go out and say something that is triggering to the masses. Why not at the very least consider, okay, maybe was my tone a little off? Okay, was my, or even if that was my tone, could I have handled that in a way that would have been a little more respectful? Could I have handled that in a way that would have had a bit more empathy? Like, to me, this is what I would expect from a mental health professional. This is what I would expect. But what happens is she's doubling down. And then now she's mad that people are threatening her. Now, first of all, I don't think it's right if people are threatening her. Now, I don't even know if that's true or not, because I saw some people who were just like, look, no. Now she's just trying to play the victim. So I don't know. She's saying she's threatened. I'm just going to assume that's true. But I'm like, also at the end of the day, if you're a mental health professional and you basically stick up a middle finger to men who are mentally unstable, well, what are you expecting? What are you expecting? Like, men already feel screwed over. They already feel like they're at the wit's end. They already feel like society doesn't like them or whatever. And then they go to the very place to try where they would hope to find solace, and they get basically a middle finger, or they get disrespect. Well, yeah, some people may crack. Well, yeah, some people may come to you. I'm not saying that that is right. I don't think violence is ever the answer, especially for something like that. But at the same time, it's like, when you're dealing with mentally unstable people, you have got to move with care. You have got to move with care. And this to me showed an extreme level of just lack of empathy and lack of professionalism. And then on top of that, there doesn't seem to be any remorse. That's why I'm just like, look, people make mistakes. I'm all for giving people second chances, giving them room to improve. I'm all for that. But it's like, she's doubling down. She is doubling down. And then we continue, and then she's talking about launching a membership. Okay. Then it's saying, look, I'm changing the things I cannot accept. Okay. Oh, here's one at the bottom. It says, okay, Black women deserve to feel safe. I'm sorry, I should be reading from the bottom up, because that's in the timeline. It says, Black women deserve to feel safe. So again, now she's making this about herself. Now this is about her lack of safety, her being a victim, her having these men who are going out and harassing her and treating her wrong, and all this kind of different stuff. And I'm like, again, I'm not advocating for any woman to have violence hurled at her. I think that is inappropriate. But you are a mental health professional who went online and stuck up a middle finger to men. And even when you were caught in it, or you found that people were offended, there was no willingness to at least consider whether or not they were right, or to consider whether or not your tone could have been changed a bit, or whether or not you could have approached that in a softer way. Like, there was no consideration. There was no empathy. There was no, okay, let me try to evolve. That's what a therapist would do. A therapist would do that. A therapist was like, okay, you know what? I was a little bit triggered, or maybe my language wasn't this. So, okay, let me try to evolve. Let me try to understand where this person is coming from. No, it's just, now these men are attacking me. Wow, these men are attacking me. Wow. I'm the victim. Now I really don't want to see no clients. So then now we move on. It says, a man just called my business and said, okay, yeah, so I read that already. And then it says, y'all saw Mel and thought she's talking about Black men. So now this is where we get into the gaslighting, because now Black men are coming out here and saying, so you basically stick up a middle figure to Black men. And she's saying, I didn't say only Black men. Ma'am, as I mentioned before, you work in Mississippi in the deep South. Don't act like all these non-Black men are going out of their way to see a Black female therapist, a Black feminist female therapist. That's not happening. Okay. Not to mention, oh, lo and behold, not to mention, you literally signed up to be on a therapy called therapyforblackmen.org. So this is where we start getting into the gaslighting, where you're called on something and you are clearly shown to be at fault. And instead of being like, you know what, you're right, I was wrong on that, or I missed it, or okay, instead of just owning it, now you gotta gaslight. Now you're gonna be like, I wasn't talking about no black men when you're literally on therapyforblackmen.org. Like, what are we doing? This is a mental health professional. This ain't some person in high school, just out of high school, trying to find their life. This is a professional that has all this, what is it? LS, LCSW, LIC, all these acronyms. And it's supposedly an expert on how to handle people's emotional, mental, presumably their communication, how to handle that. And she's acting like this. I'm like, and here's the thing. At the beginning, it's like I wanted to give her the benefit of the doubt. Honestly, I wanted to believe, okay, let me try to understand. Let me try to see context first. Like I wanted it to be something that it was not. And I was so disturbed to find out that it's like, no, it's exactly what we think it is. It's exactly what you think it is. The misandry is starting to show. And when she's being caught on it, and when she's being caught out for it, now it's about her being the victim. If you look at her tweets again, now she's launching a membership. So presumably this different traction she's got, she's going to now use to help empower women even more so. She's talking about how men are harassing her. She's talking about that, hey, she wasn't really talking about black men. And then we find out that she's actually on therapyforblackmen.org. Now, I think if you look now, she's off. I think she went and quickly removed that. But best believe she was advertising herself as a therapist for black men. And then here's a tweet that I think really, really just brought it all home. Now, she tweeted this about a year ago, but based upon her current behavior, it doesn't seem like she has changed from this position. If anything, it seems like she probably has doubled down to this position. And it's this tweet right here where it says, protect black women also means protect us from black men. Again, protect black women also means protect us from black men. So you mean to tell me somebody that has that mindset and that belief about black men can come into a therapy session and offer medical help from an unbiased position? If she could honestly say, these men are activating my nervous system. Prior to that, she could say, to protect black women also means protecting them from black men. You mean to tell me that this person is unbiased? Okay, and even if she says, okay, look, yes, because I'm biased, I'm going to focus on women. I'm not going to focus on men. If that's her stance, to me, that's still dangerous, because am I going to want to now go to a therapist who I know has biases against men? Because that's going to leak out in how she gives me advice. That's going to leak out consciously, subconsciously, in little subtleties. Because as a straight woman, I'm in relationship with men. I have a husband. I have a father. I have cousins. I have people that I talk to. I have you guys, right? I have people in society I meet every single day. Even if she wants to deal with just women, like a lot of those women still are going to have interactions with men. So what kind of training or what kind of medical help is she going to be able to offer these women when she has a position such as this? Protect black women also means protect us from black men. As if black women can also be abusive? As if black women also don't have the ability to use what they have at their disposal and use it against men? To abuse men, whether it be verbally, emotionally in this case, which is what I would argue is what's going on. Emotional abuse happening towards emotionally vulnerable men. What therapist goes online and shames mentally ill people for not approaching her in the right way? I don't understand that. Talking about her nervous system being triggered. I'm like, then why are you in therapy? Like, why are you in therapy? Or you get therapy. You go talk that out with your own therapist, to go to your own and hash that out, write it out, and put yourself in a sabbatical to your own work. Because I'm like, you need to be, as a mental health professional, I would hope that you'd be professional and be strong and be there so that when these people come with all of their issues and their woes and their burdens and their own biases and their own self-judgment, you could help them unpack that and get them to a healthy sense of who they are. That's your job. But you're not doing that. You're not doing that with those kinds of biases. Like, you're not, it's just not happening. So, and then here, you know, where people are just like, look, we already know that you're a Black therapist. She does the whole gaslighting thing again. It's just like, oh, well, all kinds of different people contact me. I'm not saying that you maybe don't have a white client here or there. I'm sure that happens. But by and large, as a Black woman living in the deep South and freaking Mississippi, which is one of the most Blackest states out there, and you literally are on a website called therapyforblackmen.org, let's not play dumb. We all know that you are a therapist for Black men, Black women too, people in general, but primarily for Black people. And you even admit to it in your tweets. She literally said in one of her tweets that the way she talks the way she does and doesn't try to downplay her Blackness is because she wants to be able to create a safe space for Black people to be who they are. Come to therapy and be who they are. This is what she talks about. This is what she prides herself in being. So it's like, why are we playing dumb now when you are showing your true colors? We all know what this is about. Okay, real quick, I do want to acknowledge, I saw a few super chats come through. Shout out to Christian Hutchinson. It says, mental health professional refuse service to men because of experiences, shoulder shrug, refuse housing to women because of experience equals lawsuit. Man, oh man. You're absolutely right. You are absolutely right. Okay, also let me shout out to, I want to make sure, give a shout out to, I think there's another one I saw come through. Really quick. Oops, where'd you go? Sorry guys, I was on a rant. Okay, I'm gonna find you guys. Bear with me. What's going on, Kosher Clinician? It says with the 5. Yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. It says she may have some transference issues and it's her right to see who she wants, but is it ethical? She should have kept this to vest, no awareness. That is what bingo. I'm like, look, if you have that point of view, that is totally and completely fine. If you want to see female therapist or female woman only, no one has an issue with that. I don't think anybody would have had a problem if she was like, hey guys, moving forward, I'm going to only see women. Just keep it that short. I don't think anybody would have had an issue with that. But it was the disrespect. It was the and it was the shaming. It was a shaming the fact that these men are activating my nervous system. These men are trying me. They're going to make me go off. You can't tell me that's not disrespectful. And when I first read that tweet, my first thought was this woman does not have relationships with strong men in her life. Because if she did, then she would know that the way she approached this was highly disrespectful to men. Highly. Okay, here's another one. Sigma says, a whole narcissist, that's a therapist. Everyone should seek God as a therapist. Wouldn't have to worry about him. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the support. And then Eugene Steele, I'd see, she will be fired soon, just like another Black female therapist. You remember her? We'll see. I mean, she's putting email lists together and putting together courses for more Black women. I don't really know what to expect. This is why I wanted to hear from the therapist, because I'm like, I don't really know what disciplinary actions are, what would be considered, reasonable. It says Babylon is failing and Jezebels are falling with it. Thank you again for the 5. Thank you also for the 5. So we're going to see. It's going to be interesting to see whether or not she actually gets pushback. I mean, I do know people were starting to push back. She said she had people on Facebook who were calling out to her. She had some people who left a review. So we're going to see how this is handled. But just to give you guys, I know some of you guys are logging on right now, kind of give you guys a quick overview of what's going on. We went over the initial tweet where she basically alluded to the fact that she didn't want to see men. Now, the issue was not that she wanted to see men. The issue is her blatant disrespect that we see, not only in the initial tweet, but in the tweet moving forward. You can tell based upon the way that she wrote that she does not know how men operate. She doesn't understand that men need respect. Just like women need love, men need respect. And there was no ounce of respect. Y'all can hear the neck rolling and the eyes rolling and the neck popping and the fingers wagging. Like, y'all could hear this in her tone. Everything from I'm going off to y'all trying me to y'all activating my nervous system. She went full blown sister girl on this tweet. She went full blown sister girl on this tweet towards these Black men. So this is her saying, I ain't seeing y'all no more because y'all activate my nervous system. Again, shaming these emotionally vulnerable men because they're not approaching her in the way that she wants. Shaming, again, these emotionally unstable, right? Or just maybe they're whatever, mentally unwell, whatever. She's shaming emotionally vulnerable men for not acting up to par. And I'm like, hello, they're emotionally vulnerable. When somebody's emotions or feelings is all over the place and they don't know who they are and they suffer with self-judgment, they're not going to act their best version of themselves. Therapists know this. But yet she's shaming them for not approaching them in the way that she thinks is up to par. But I'm just like, man, you're dealing with a sick, you're in theory, as a therapist, you're seeing these clients as having a sickness. So it's like, to me, it's like a doctor, right? You're a general doctor, and somebody comes in your office and coughs on you, and then you're mad, and you're like, I ain't seeing women no more because he coughed on me or she coughed on me, or I ain't seeing so and so no more because they every time they come in they sneeze, and it's like, but you're a doctor. People are gonna cough and sneeze in your when they go for an appointment, like because they're sick. This is why they're coming to you to not do that anymore. So I'm like, it's just, to me, the whole thing to me is just insane the more I think about it, because I'm just like, how are you getting mad for people acting in a way to you that seems emotionally unstable when you, for a profession, deal with emotionally unstable people? And again, what it's revealing is bias. So the issue was not that she did not want to see men. A person has a right to have a specialist. I know people who, they only focus on, maybe some people focus on anxiety, some people focus on bipolar disorder, some people, that's not a problem. The issue was the approach, and it's the disrespect that we see. And as she continues, it becomes more and more evident, because when she's caught out on it and she said, hey, this was actually kind of offensive, this is seen as very disrespectful, she doubles down. There's no empathy. There is no, oh man, maybe I could have said that a little differently, or I'm sorry guys, I didn't mean to trigger you guys. None of that. Just like, y'all are coming against me and Black women. Y'all don't want to respect me. Y'all don't want a Black woman to have boundaries. And now it becomes about her. It becomes about her. But it's like, ma'am, you're the professional. These are the clients. These are the ones who would be sick. Why are you making it about you when it's supposed to be about them? So here's where we're at. Okay. Now let's see where we so that's where we landed. And then the whole gaslighting, we find with the tweet, she tried to gaslight, and she's like, look, I didn't say it was this Black man. This is literally what she says. And then you go and find out that she's literally on a therapy site called therapyforblackmen.org, like, ma'am. And she lives in freaking Mississippi. Okay. And we know Mississippi is like one of the blackest states out there. So nobody believes that. Like, nobody who's honest believes that she's not really seeing Black folks like that and Black men. She obviously is. Here she denies it. And then here she talks about it. I can't tell my clients to have boundaries and not have my own. So again, this whole response is revealing bias. As I mentioned, I when I first saw the tweet, I was like, okay, let me try to understand. Maybe she's just super unprofessional and needs a little bit of training. But the more I started to read, the more I'm just like, no, this woman is legit a misandrist. She legitimately has a bias, and I wish she would just own that. But I think that's, and based upon different medical professionals I've talked to, that's a problem. So now let's get into this aspect of things, because we start to see, when these things go viral and people, share their true colors, we start to understand that, there are reasons to this kind of different stuff, right? And in my humble opinion, just based upon her profile of who she's presented herself to be, we can clearly see that there's some hurt and there's some pain there related to relationships with Black men. And I think instead of owning that, she's wearing it. But we can see here, based upon some of just some of her different tweets. Okay, let's go here, for example. So it says, remembering that time I sent a letter to my stepdad telling him he was the reason I dated emotionally unavailable men. So she's telling on herself. Emotionally unavailable men. This was a few months ago. It says he never wrote back or brought it up. So she's basically cussing her stepdad out. So already we see there's a wound here. There is a wound. There's a wound. And then here's another one. She's basically saying, would definitely recommend go to other Black men if they're available, but to say that don't go to a Black woman ever sounds insane to me. You know, I mean, to me, that just the hypocrisy is just illogical, because it's like you're literally saying you're never going to see Black male clients. But then now if Black men say, okay, I'm never going to see a Black female therapist, that's insane. I'm like, what? But here's what I think this situation reveals. And this is something I'm really coming to grips with. I mean, I think it kind of talked around this idea a while back when I spoke with Dr. T is on and Terrain Walker. This idea came up of women when they go to school and they get like radicalized. They go and take these education and they sit under white feminist ideology and learn about white feminist framework, would then apply it to Black people, and they come out radicalized. And I think what happens is, let's say you are a Black woman who you legitimately love Black men, or you legitimately want a Black family or whatever, and you believe in Black love, but you've had bad experiences. Maybe it's whether it's with your dad, whether it's with maybe men, exes, baby daddies, whatever. You've had those bad experiences, and then you walk into a university system and you sit under white feminist training for what 4 years, maybe 6 years, maybe 8, depending upon what you're doing. But you sit under that training and you come out radicalized. Sometimes you can literally come out seeing men as the source of the problem. And this is what I think is happening. This is what I actually think happened to her, if I'm being honest. Because you see, it's like, so there's that wound, there's that hurt that started from her Black stepfather. She says, okay, you're the reason I dated emotionally available, men. And when I went to you and tried to connect, you weren't able to do so. That's painful. That's a wound, especially for women. That's hurtful. Not having that emotional connection with their father, with a man in their life as a father figure, that is hurtful, especially for women, because we are emotional human beings. And there's many of Black women, many of us who go along and feel that and have that void and feel that disconnect. So that is a wound that she carries. Then, she went into school, obviously, to try to get different training. And based upon the things that she said, and based upon the things that she alluded to, you can tell that even if she doesn't identify as a Black feminist, she certainly has picked up feminist ideology. Now, again, when you do that, right, when you have bad experiences with men, then you go into a education and they tell you men are the problem. Now it can kind of create this confusing limbo, because there's this aspect of you, right, where it's like you want to be with men, you have that desire, but then at the same time there's this negativity towards men. But then, based upon the feminist framework, men are the one that have to fix it. And so the issue with this kind of trajectory, right, of you go from, whether it's a dad wound, father wound, whatever, you go from that, you go into these educational systems, you get radicalized, and then you come out. The issue is now it puts you in a chokehold, because in one instance you want Black men, or one instance you want a good man, but then in the other instance, all of your situations with Black men have been traumatizing. And then now you have this whole framework that has been upheld by society that says men are the problem. So in your mind, all of the different problems that you have experienced, all of the different problems that you have faced are exclusively because of Black men. And in order for it to be fixed, Black men now have to stand up, and they have to fix the community, and they have to protect you, and they have to open up, and they have to ABC, X, Y, and Z, Black men are the problem. But it puts you in the chokehold, because now you're seeing that Black men are the problem, and you feel like there's nothing you can do about it. And so it's just kind of weird tug of war. You see up here, she says, man, it saddens me because I really love doing the work with Black men. So there's an aspect of her that's just like, man, like I want to connect with Black men. But then a few tweets previously, it's like Black woman also means protect us from Black men. And so her trajectory to me it shows me how women are radicalized, how there's a progression of radicalization that happens, starting, I think, very young, from maybe bad situations, lack of healthy relationships, fill in the blank. Then you go into these institutions that radicalize you further. And then now you go and you see men are the problem. Now, because men are the problem, you're going to have a chip on your shoulder every single time that you deal with them. You having a chip on your shoulder when you deal with men means that you're probably not going to have good results, because men need respect. Just like women need love. Women need a certain level of, protection. Women have those things that we need. Men need respect. So when you walk around without that respect, now you don't have good relationships with men. And what, in my humble opinion, what is going to be the byproduct of years and years and years and years of not getting along with men, having emotional voids with men, not being able to connect, feeling like men are the problem, and having all this pain? What's going to be the byproduct of that long term? You might start to experiment. You might start to experience with the different sexuality. And this is what we see going on here. This is what we see going on here. So I want to bring up real quick, and then I think after this, I'm going to, that wraps it up, because to me, this brings everything into full swing. Like, the more I started to see her response and then started to learn about who she was, I'm just like, okay, we're seeing this plain as day. This woman just does not like men. And in her mind, she has justification to do so because her dad wasn't emotionally available to her, whatever else went on. But nevertheless, she had justification. So let me pull this up, because she does have a recent response that she did regarding her position. Okay, let me see. And let me see if I can pull it up. Okay, so here's her TikTok. Yeah, here's her TikTok. She has different videos. Okay. Actually, let me play this real quick, because this is one of her responses. Okay.
So let me get this straight. I say I don't want to work with males anymore in my private practice because they activate my nervous system and I don't feel safe. And their response is to threaten to unalive me by threatening my livelihood, saying that there's groups of y'all that are reporting me to my licensing board because I don't want to work with y'all. Y'all ain't want to work with me anyway. So what y'all talking about? Y'all are reporting me to my licensing board for saying I specialize in working with Black women who overcome perfectionism. Did you know that therapists are allowed to have specializations? Did you know that when we are in school, our instructors ask us, what is your target population? Who would you like to work with? Focus on them. Did you know that? It's people leaving me reviews saying that I'm racist, saying that I shouldn't work with Black men, saying that when they were my client, they felt this type of way, blah, blah, blah. These folks have never even seen me. I don't know these people. So y'all just sitting up here lying on me. Why would you do that? They're calling my business line saying they want to slice off my face. They want to unalive me. They want to essay me. I should be. You really think I want to work with men now? No. Then on Twitter, y'all posting a picture of my profile for therapy for Black men. Yeah, that's me. But I'm no longer seeing males because of the things that I've said previously. And my profile is still up there because I paid my $20 for the month. I'm waiting on them to stop my subscription. I just made this announcement last week. Y'all gonna give me some time? Where is the energy for the male therapists who only see men? Because I don't see y'all out here acting like this towards them. I encourage you, I implore you to find a male therapist that's a good fit for you. So let me get this straight.
Okay. So I want
I say I
to
don't want to work.
unpack this a bit, because again, this is her response. This is her response to people being like, hey, what you said was actually very offensive and disrespectful to potential clients, or to mentally unstable, or whatever, or even if I'm not mentally unstable, maybe they're just looking to improve their mental health. This was disrespectful. Again, this is her response when she was caught out.
Work with males anymore in my private practice because they activate my nervous system and I don't feel safe.
So again, so y'all hear that? I don't work with men anymore because they activate my nervous system and I don't feel safe. Again, this is somebody who's coming in with an implicit bias, or maybe explicit at this point. She's coming in with a bias because if you have a few, just because you have a few men go in your inbox who maybe they seem mentally unwell or regressive or whatever, that doesn't mean that all men are like that. I mean, if we did that, look, how many times have women went and said all kinds of things, talked about women's hair, makeup, said her edges are off, you know, backbitten. Like, this women can do some dastardly deeds. We can do some horrible things, but it's like when women do that, I don't see women quick to be like, well, I don't feel safe with these women because they talked about my hair or they talked about my edges, or you know, the way they approached me on Instagram, they was disrespecting me and now I feel unsafe. Like, it's just women do some crazy stuff too, but there's this understanding that, okay, well, those women over there or that woman over there is crazy, but I still have my sisterhood, or I still have these people. Like we can make these distinctions between crazy women and then women that we align with. But somehow when men, if you see a few mentally unstable men, which again is your profession, when you see them, then not all men are unstable. Not all men are mentally unwell. And again, it's like, if this is what she believed personally, it's like, okay, she has a right to that, whatever. The problem is she's a mental health therapist. This is a professional. This is somebody who's supposed to be unbiased, who is clearly showing that she is. Clearly showing that she is. And yes, there are times out there when people can be unsafe. There are times out there when men can be unsafe and women. So it's like, I don't want to undermine that. That can happen. But what we have seen based upon the tweet and all the things up to this point is that she already came in with that understanding. And now any interaction she's having with men, even if it's subtle, she said, activating my nervous system. That means that she had a sensitivity to men to begin with for her nervous system to be activated. That means she's being triggered. Again, that means she has had some experiences in the past with men that make it nearly impossible for her to see them through an unbiased lens. If she was not a mental health professional, this would not be a problem, but she is. And this is where it gets very dangerous.
And their response is to threaten to unalive me by threatening my livelihood, saying that there's groups of y'all that are reporting me to my licensing board because I don't want to work with y'all.
No. And this see, again, this is exactly where the narrative got swapped. The narrative got twisted. I don't know any man in their right mind who was going out there begging and pleading for a black feminist queer therapist to be seeing them. I don't know, like, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm like, men, especially straight heterosexual men, are not going out of their way, okay, to try to see black female therapists to the point where they're going to try to force her to see them. Like, that's not what's going on. What's going on here is the disrespect, as I mentioned to earlier. What's going on was the shaming. What's going on was the putting them down. That's what they're reacting to. So this has nothing to do about her personal boundaries. Nobody cares if she wants to see just women. If she did that, and if she did it in a professional light, we wouldn't be having this conversation. It was the way that she did it, and it was the way that she revealed her colors. That is the problem. And again, because she's a mental health professional, it's like, this is not acceptable. But it's crazy how now it's about how black women need to be protected. And it's like, ma'am, this is not a question of protection as much as this is a question of disrespect. And then now, because you did disrespect people who are probably mentally unstable, now you got people there who are going to say all kinds of crazy things. Look, I've gotten threats. I haven't gotten nearly as viral as she's gotten. I've gotten all kinds of threats and all violent stuff. People saying they're gonna do all kinds of things here that I don't want to say because I don't want to be demonetized. But I've gotten that. Obviously we've all, but I'm like, if you've been on social media for any length of time, you've probably gotten some crazy feedback, because there's weird, strange people out there. But that doesn't mean that I now, just because I've had a handful of YouTubers go and create weird videos about me or send me letters about how they want to unalive me or whatever, that doesn't mean now I'm going to say, oh, well, all men are this, or all women, frankly, because women have done some dastardly deeds too. It's like, you know how to make a distinction between people who are mentally unwell and people who are stable. But somehow, when it's men, then they're all casting that broad net.
Y'all ain't want to work with me anyway. So what y'all talking about?
Again, I don't understand. She's like, they don't want to work with me, but she was saying that they were in her inbox trying to ask to work with her. So that's why I'm like, I'm like, but you literally just said you're turning them away because you don't like the way that they're approaching you. But then you're saying that they're not approaching you? Like, I don't know. I don't understand her point there. It seems contradictory.
Y'all are reporting me to my licensing board for saying I specialize in working with Black women who overcome perfectionism.
That's not why we are reporting her. That's not why people have reported her. People have reported her because she, as a mental health therapist, has not been shown to be unbiased, and that is unethical. This is what I've heard from other mental health professionals. Now, again, guys, if you're in the comment section and you're a mental health professional, please let me know. I want to hear from you. But based on from what I've heard, they said, no, this actually goes against the code of ethics. So no, nobody is sitting and complaining saying, oh, we're mad because she wants to help Black women overcome perfectionism. Nobody's mad about that. They're mad about the fact that you were disrespectful to men and you clearly have bias and you're not supposed to. That goes against your job. That's what the issue is. So, but you see how the narrative has changed? And I'm like, you guys, this is so dangerous. This is the problem with toxic feminism. The problem with toxic feminism is that it literally eclipses the ability for any woman to ever be self-reflective, because any problem, whether it be in the relationship, whether it be with other men, the problem always becomes men. And then now, based upon that paradigm, you're always a victim. There's never anything that you can do. They need to protect, Black women need protected from Black men. Black men needed this, Black men needed that, Black men needed that. It all becomes about what Black men are not doing. And it really hinders the ability for there to be self-reflection, for there to be maybe an ounce of understanding where you yourself could be doing things personally in your own life to undermine your success. This, to me, is a problem with this whole toxic feminist narrative, when men are all automatically perceived to be aggressors and to be predators, because based upon that paradigm, you're the victim, and therefore there's nothing about you that needs to change other than you just being more accepting of yourself. And I'm like, look, I'm all for acceptance, but I'm like, you can have acceptance of yourself, but also call out when things are foul, call out when you've done things that are foul. But if the focus is always what men aren't doing, then you never really have a chance to look in the mirror and be like, okay, well, what haven't I done? Ugh. Okay, I think I'm almost done with this one. And then, okay.
Did you know that therapists are allowed to have specializations?
Yep.
Did you know that when we are in school, our instructors ask us, what is your target population? Who would you like to work with? Focus on them. Did you know that? It's people leaving me reviews saying that I'm racist, saying that I shouldn't work with Black men, saying that when they were my client, they felt this type of way, blah, blah, blah. These folks have never even seen me. I don't know these people. So y'all just sitting up here lying on me. Why would you do that? They're calling my business line saying they want to slice off my face. They want to unalive me. They want to essay me. I should be. You really think I want to work with men now? No. Then on Twitter.
Again, I'm not saying that what she experienced is right. It's absolutely not. But she used examples of men who are clearly unwell. And then now all men out there are implicated. Now because this handful of men have come out here and left horrible threats, which, look, I've received that, and I haven't gone nearly as viral as she has. I've received that just because of my channel. But now, because a couple of people have gone and said these horrible things, now I really don't want to work with men. And now, therefore, all men are fill in the blank. Black women need protection from Black men. Again, revealing bias. That is the issue. That's the main issue everybody has with this. And it's so clear. So it's crazy how when she's being called out, it's like she's saying that it's about her setting boundaries. And the narrative she's told herself is that these people don't want me to set boundaries. these people are mad that I'm setting boundaries and they're threatening me about it. And I'm like, no, 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 no. That's not the issue. The issue was never that you set boundaries. The issue was that you're a misandrist. You don't like men. And literally in her profile that I saw, she retweeted something that said misandry is not real. So she doesn't think misandry is real. And so therefore she practices it. That's what people are reacting to. And I wish there could be an acknowledgement of just like, oh, dang, okay, maybe, whew, wow, you're right. I have something to work on. Maybe I need to go back into therapy. Maybe I need to go into sabbatical. Maybe I need to whatever. But that's what people are reacting to. Like, it's so obvious. It is so obvious. But it's crazy to me that in her mind, it's like, I'm like, either she's gaslighting herself or she truly believes this. And the more I started to look at her profile, I was like, no, I actually legitimately believe that she believes that she is the victim in this. She has no understanding of how men actually work. She has no understanding of how what she said and what she did was totally and completely disrespectful and undermining of people who could be emotionally vulnerable. She has it's like completely clueless. And to me, this goes back to when I first saw her original tweet. I was like, this does not sound like a woman who understands men at all. And it's showing. It's showing based upon this response.
Twitter, y'all posting a picture of my profile for therapy for Black men. Yeah, that's me. But I'm no longer seeing males because of the things that I've said previously. And my profile is still up there because I paid my $20 for the month. I'm waiting on them to stop my subscription. I just made this announcement last week. Y'all gonna give me some time? Where is the energy for the male therapists who only see men? Because I don't see y'all out here acting like this towards them. I encourage.
But y'all seen, y'all correct me if I'm wrong, but y'all seen a Black male therapist go online and say, I ain't seeing these women because they activate my nervous system. These women trying me. These women is yelling. They got attitude. They got this. They got that. They activate my nerves, and I'm gonna go off. Have you seen a Black male therapist do that? Please tell me. Is there an equivalent? Is there an equivalent to a Black male therapist who has gone online and said, y'all females activate my nervous system? Y'all bad attitude. Y'all wigs, weaves, and sandals getting on my nerves. Have you seen an equivalent? Please tell me. Because I haven't. Okay, let me continue playing, and then I actually need to grab my charger. I just noticed my computer's about to die, y'all. Bear with me. Okay, bear with me.
I implore you to find a male therapist that's a good fit for you. So let me get this straight. I say I don't want to work with males anymore in my private practice because they activate my nervous system and I don't feel safe. And their response is to threaten to unalive me by threatening my livelihood, saying that there's groups of y'all that are reporting me to my licensing board because I don't want to work with y'all. Y'all ain't want to work with me anyway. So what y'all talking about? Y'all are reporting me to my licensing board for saying I specialize in working with Black women who overcome perfectionism.
Okay, sorry about that, y'all. I always be doing that where I be forgetting my charger and then like my charger about to die or my computer about to die. Okay, real quick. So I do want to acknowledge what's going on, Malarkey. Shout out to you for the 12 on the super chat. I see, come on, good people. Get those likes up, sub to the sister channel, and donate to the collection pop. We should always support our favorite content creators. If we don't, then who will? Shout out to you.
Amen. That's right.
That's a good one. Okay, let's see who else we got here. I want to make sure I got everybody, got some good feedback here. Nelson Media says, I'm an LPC. She's risking having to go before her review board, especially if she's had Black male clients in the past because they can claim her bias caused them to not get quality care. Woo, okay, interesting. Okay, see, Fawcett Media, it says the therapist also just started her website last week and it's her pinned comment and she's keeping it going. That's the giveaway. Okay, so y'all, because I heard some people be like, this seemed like it was definitely scripted. Like, this seems like she was definitely trying to, like, this was script planned. Christian McQueen, it says all therapists agree to adhere to the American Counseling Association Code of Ethics for all clients, even before a formal contract is formed. Is this the one where you were talking about not having bias or trying to create a safe space? Let me know. Yeah. But that makes sense. I'm assuming there's some code of ethic or something going on here. Okay, let me make sure. I think there's one more. Oh, okay. Shout out to I think Seven. It says she said that because after the TikTok therapist betrayal, men are avoiding Black women as therapists, and her clientele vanished. So she pivots to women. Well, what she did didn't help. If her argument was that the whole Cherie Walls TikTok therapist made it harder for Black women to get therapists, this situation right here certainly does not help. It does not help at all. Like, it just makes it worse. The PR just got worse for Black female therapists as it pertains to Black men. And truth be told, it's like, this is just my personal belief, but I'm like, I don't know what I believe that if you are biased towards men, I don't think that you can properly offer healthy quality service to women. Because I'm like, women have to interact with men on some level, whether it's in their family, whether they're married to them or in close relationships or not. Even if they try to live as hermits or try to keep themselves isolated, it's like they're still in some way, shape, or form going to have to interact with men on some level. So I'm like, if you hold all these negative ideals with like literally 50% of the population, it's hard for me to think that now you're going to be able to give me help or provide a safe space for me to learn how to get along with myself and especially get along with men in the society. Like, I don't know that I believe that you can accurately help both when you, like I said, hold such negative views for at least half of the human population. Okay, so there's one more, and then I think I have a few minutes because I want to hear. I would love to hear from some of you lovely people, especially mental health professionals or retired mental health professionals, people who work in the field or have worked in the field. I would especially love to hear from you in this particular topic because I don't pretend to be an expert at all. As you guys know, I'm not. I'm just a girl with a microphone. But from what I could see, it just seemed highly unprofessional and very dangerous for such rhetoric to come from a mental health professional who specializes in working with emotionally unstable people. I thought it was highly not only disrespectful, but it was unsafe. It was irresponsible, frankly. And that's why I'm like, I don't agree. I don't think people should be going to her and sending death threats. I think that that's horrible. But at the same time, it's like when you're dealing with people who are mentally all over the place, you don't know what you're going to get. You could have triggered somebody. You literally could have triggered somebody who had a past that was full of DV or all kinds of different things. Like, you don't know. So it was really irresponsible. And do you really want to be going to somebody who's so careless when you were in a vulnerable state? I don't think so. One more thing I want to hold that I think really kind of helps tie this whole thing together. It's a subtle point, but nevertheless a significant point. Let me bring it up and then, okay, let's bring it up. Where'd you go? Okay. Alrighty, guys, we're almost through the receipts, and then in the meantime, guys, if you guys want to call in, let me know because I'd love to hear. Especially if there are any mental health professionals here, I'd love to hear from you, or like somebody who's worked in the field or is familiar with it. Wait, where'd you go? Okay. So we went over that video. Now, and then actually, I don't think I've seen this one. So let me see, because this is a recent one I haven't seen yet. So this is largely probably in response to what she said about setting boundaries.
Let's talk about how I created a boundary for myself by no longer accepting males in my private practice.
Oh God, okay.
And people became very upset with me for that. It is not lost upon me that when I said I don't want to see males, a lot of people took that and ran with it and said I don't want to work with Black men. Because who said that? I was referring.
Gaslighting. Y'all seen it? Gaslighting. I'm like, You literally are on a website called Therapy for Black Men, and then you're denying the fact that you primarily see Black men. You literally live in Mississippi, which is one of the blackest states out there, and you are a Black woman who claims and prides herself in creating safe spaces for Black people to go and express themselves without bias. It's literally what she said in one of her tweets. So yes, people are thinking that you are a black therapist that works with Black men based upon the things that you have actually said, based upon the way that you have promoted yourself, based upon the fact that you paid $20 to be on a website that targets Black men specifically. What was it? blackmentherapy.org or something to that manner. So yes, we're thinking it's Black men. But the gaslighting, that's why I'm just like, the fact that there's no remorse, there's like zero remorse, and there is gaslighting and doubling down. It's just like, I mean, I don't even know what to say at this point. If you really wanted to give a benefit of a doubt and say, okay, maybe she's just unprofessional, maybe she's new, maybe she's unaware. Like if you wanted to give a benefit of the doubt, the way now she's doubling down and defending a position that nobody's attacking. Nobody cares about the fact that she's seeing. It's not that she's seeing women only. Most people in their right mind don't care about them. I'm sure there's some crazies out there, but most people who are somewhat in the right mind don't care that she wants to see women. Again, it's the disrespect. It is the blatant disrespect. And the fact that now she's gaslighting and acting like we're not all seeing it. And then now she's making a course of Black women. Like the timing is rather convenient. Okay. I saw this, y'all, and I was like, wait, I'm sorry, this is my first time seeing it, so bear with me. Oops.
Referring to the men who find me on different directory profiles for therapists. They go to my website, they see links to schedule a consultation, which will help us figure out if we're a good fit for each other. I was talking about the ones who overlook all of that and decide to send me an email asking me, why should I work with you? You shouldn't. You should not. Because we're not going to be a good fit. I don't have an issue with people emailing me asking if I accept insurance or what are my private pay rates, stuff like that. That's no issue. I can respond to that very quickly. What I was addressing was the people who come in my inbox or in my DMs, not just emailing, because people will DM me and say, why should I choose you over another therapist? I don't know. I don't know what that therapist be doing. That ain't none of my business. There was something about me that pulled you towards me to want to work with me, yet you're still questioning why you should do that.
It's like, so she's taking it really personal. That's another thing too. It's like she's taking something really, really personal. Somebody's shopping around for the best therapist for them, the best person, because essentially these are going to be people who patronize you, people who your clients, people who are going to pay you, and who are going to share really intimate details. So them asking you, why should I work with you? Them vetting you that is not disrespectful, and that's not unreasonable, but she's taking it super personally. Like, she's like, oh, I'm really good. I'm this and that, like if you actually look at some of her other TikToks, she literally talks about how like she is one of the best. She's one of the greatest at what she does. She's worked really hard. And I'm like, look, no one wants to downplay that. If you work hard, you get your degrees, that's great. But I'm like, don't take it personal now if somebody wants to vet you as a mental health professional. They should. That's not a reason to be offended. That's not a reason to think that these men just ain't respecting me. These men. It's like, no, they want to make sure that you're not crazy. And given the recent PR amount around Black female therapists specifically, they have every right to do so. So it's interesting to me how she's taking something super personal that to me seems rather legitimate. Rather legitimate. Okay.
That's something you should be asking yourself, not asking me. I'm not here to convince you to work with me.
But again, you would go to therapy to learn that. Because like I said, when people come to therapy, they have all kinds of different weird, sometimes quirks, sometimes lack of boundaries. Like you're dealing with people who sometimes are discombobulated. Things are kind of out of place. And a healthy therapist will help create a process by which they can get put back together. But again, you shouldn't take that process personally. It shouldn't be like, oh, I ain't got to prove myself to you. It's like, It's not about proving, it's just about making sure you're not crazy. Not all therapists are created equal, and we can see this. Clearly, they're not all created equal.
That's what my profile's for. Let's talk about how I created a boundary for myself by no longer accepting males.
She's making it about, don't nobody care about, boundaries are healthy. Boundaries aren't the issue. The issue is everything else we are talked about, the disrespect and the gaslighting and the fact that you have been shown to be biased when you're supposed to be unbiased and you're a mental health professional. Those are the issues. Okay. I don't know. YouTube's getting all weird with the copyright stuff. So I don't know if you can see that, but that's her girlfriend, and she's doing her hair. I think it was like a Valentine's Day thing. She put it there, Valentine's Day, et cetera, et cetera. She's doing her hair. Now, why is it significant? When I started off this conversation, I read the tweet to you guys, and I said, based upon her tweet, it just sounds like she don't really have strong relationships with men. It don't sound like she have good relationships with men in her life who can help offer a different perspective, who can maybe help be a sounding board by which she can learn how men operate, that they operate differently from women, and that is okay. This is just what I gathered just based upon, her original tweet. And then I, started doing research, looking at her different interaction from her tweets. And I'm like, she definitely seems like a misandrist. That is for sure. And then, I go on her TikTok and I find, okay, she's in a relationship with a woman. And then we find out she has a daughter, a young daughter, which presumably she had from a man. And, there are different tweets where she talked about previously being with emotionally unavailable men. She had a tweet where she was cussing out her dad. And I'm like, it's just... everything is coming together really, 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 really at the end of the day. A lot of times when people they become mental health professionals, it can actually become because they had their own issues that they needed help overcoming. And I'm all for that. I don't think you have to be perfect to be a mental health professional, but hopefully you would get to a place where you were healed enough or you were healthy enough to where you wouldn't bring your own personal garbage into your therapy session with your potential clients. Unfortunately, based upon the things that we have clearly seen, it is very obvious that she still has some unhealed things related to men. Now, listen, I'm not a mental health professional. I don't want to say this is like, clearly, but from what we can gather, it's obvious. She talked about being with emotionally unavailable men. She talked about she wished to be with men, but then she also needs protection from Black men. Then she says, okay, now these Black men are activating my nervous system. Then she talks about, okay, now I want to create a safe space where women can go and heal. Then now we find out that she started getting into lesbian TikTok, and now she's in a lesbian relationship. So she went from being with emotionally unavailable men and wishing that she could get along with men to now, look, she just wants to be with women, and she's going to create a space for women, and we need protection from Black men. And I said, this, unfortunately, is the natural progression of women, especially when they go into some of these educational programs and they get exclusively a feminist education, and they go into that college and they don't already have maybe a strong family background. They don't already have maybe men in their life that they love and respect. They don't have those strong relationships. That's not there. They don't have that foundation. And they go into these educational systems and they get radicalized. And then based upon the radicalization, they go and then they continue to have really bad experiences with men because they have disrespect. And then it further reinforces the fact that men are the problem. And then at a certain point, they just be like, forget it. I'm going to go on, lesbian TikTok and see if that's for me. And then I'm going to create therapy spaces for women. And this is essentially what I think happened. I think it was a progression based upon what we saw, based upon what she even admitted to. But again, if this was just a woman who was just doing her thing and living her life, nobody would really care. It's like, you have the right to live your life. The issue is that this is a mental health professional who literally at one point was on blackmaletherapy.org or something to that matter. The good news is that she showed her true colors. So now men know to keep away. That's the good news. The bad news is that how many of these women exist? How many of the Nicole, what is her name, Lewises exist? These women who maybe have, mentally unwell, they're already mentally unwell, or they already have daddy issues or mommy issues or childhood issues. They go into school and they get radicalized further. Then they come out to the dating market with unrealistic expectations, have a few Pookie and Ray Ray situations. Now men are really the problem. And then they go into whatever collective jobs that they have, and then they reinforce these narratives about men, and then they have the positions to do so. This is the problem. And this is how misandry continues. And the very fact, if you guys go over to Twitter, you'll see that there's literally tweets that we shared where women were saying misandry is a myth that doesn't exist. The very fact that that idea can exist actually reveals how it continues to exist. The fact that they deny its existence is why it can continue to be perpetuated. That is the problem. And so, again, I'm glad that she revealed herself, her true colors, because men can protect themselves. But this isn't good. This is not healthy, and I think it's a problem. So that's what I got. I do have a few minutes. It looks like I have a few people in the background. And again, guys, if you're here, like, share, subscribe, support your favorite content creators. Support those of us out here who are actually getting the message out there that resonates with you. One of the ways you can actually ensure that your message is being represented is by supporting those who are sharing it. And especially be sure to support women who don't hate men, because that seems to be a rarity. And we need to know that we're not alone in this, because it gets real out here in these streets. Okay. Y'all don't even want to know the amount of backlash I get sometimes. So support those who show that they don't hate you. Men in the comments, and then just those out there, ladies who actually love men and women. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, Cash App, Super Chat, all that. Okay, let's see what we got in the back here. We got Mr. Z. What's going on, Mr. Z?
What's going on, Shay? Man, Shay, thank you for having me up.
Yes.
Shay. Oh,
man,
Shay.
I know, a lot.
Look, we have to have an honest conversation in the Black community about power, about influence, about using the white man's money and the white man's education to get at other Black people. I'm looking at you, Black women. So what we see here flies in the face of a lot of conversation we've been having over the past 4 and 5 decades about who has power and influence in the Black community and how they wield it and how they weaponize it against the opposite sex, right? What you have here is 2 therapists that don't even, what is it, even a 6-month gap between them? Is it even a 6-month gap? Maybe 7 months?
At this point, that's a really good question.
You see what I'm saying? So that are misandrists that spoke, negatively about Black men. We can tell at least one of them is living an alternative lifestyle. I kind of posited this kind of theory, speaking of Dr. T, which I call conditional lesbianism,
yes,
right? Which is
yeah. I just
yes.
that was kind of funny, and I think that was brilliant, because I think we're going to see more of that.
We are going to see that, right? Conditional lesbianism, because as you said, it seems like she laments to a certain extent not having this type of relationship with men, but now we see her, even though she has a child, like you said, biologically probably from a man, right? So yes. It's crazy I have to say that way nowadays, but okay. Right? Yeah, so biologically, she has a biological daughter from a man, but yet she's in a same-sex relationship, and she laments not having this type of relationship with men. Meanwhile, she's speaking this way about men. One thing I really want to stress also is what did she say? Something about, let me make sure I have that. Protect Black women also means protect Black women from Black men. Now, remember what country we live in, what society we live in. When you make a comment like that, who's supposed to be protecting Black women from Black men? You see what I'm saying? Who are you asking white daddy to save you from Black men? Who's supposed to be protecting Black women from Black men? You see what I'm saying?
That's people, a very good question. That's a very good question.
When you make a comment like that in this country with this country's history, what exactly are you saying? And who are you calling to save and make a safe space? So what we see now is women with power, women with influence in the Black community, not even low key anymore, more and more louder and louder, asking white daddy to come and save them from black men.
Well,
Now
they're asking.
go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, when you say who's going to protect black women from black men, Will Smith.
Right.
Basically,
Exactly.
what they're
One slap at a time. Go ahead.
It's a call to a Will Smith type behavior amongst black men. They're
Yeah.
basically like, I want you to create the civil war, and the prize is to not have my submission. Is essentially what's going on. Yeah, the prize is to have, a bald head woman that desires Tupac. Like, if you win this war against men who don't really approve of you, this is
Her
your
heart
prize.
belongs to somebody that's been dead for over 20 years.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you get a therapist that look like Queen Latifah, or you get something else. Yeah.
It to me, and the black community is not a one-to-one of what's going on in white society or Latino community or Asian community, right? We've been having this back and forth of who actually has power and influence in the black community and how they wield it, right? And the back and forth between social dominance order and intersectional feminism, right? Where intersectional feminism posits that black women are on the bottom because they're black and women, right? So there's sexism thrown at them and there's racism thrown at them. Where black men posit, social dominance order dictates that outside males are the ones that's really getting screwed, right? And that's because they're seen as a bigger threat because they're men, and white men who dominate the society sees them as a bigger threat, i.e. the unemployment for men compared to women in the black community, college and enrollment and everything else, right? What you see with these therapists and much of our language when it comes to feminism, women's rights is somewhere stuck pre-1980, right? We're not actually having conversations about all the progress women have made, particularly black women have made over the past 40 and 50 years. And because our language is stuck some 50 years ago, it's hard to have a conversation about women with influence and power in the black community and then wielding it against black men. Right? And all of your intersectional black feminists refuse to have that conversation, the class conversation, the conversation about educated, influential, and powerful black women who have a chip on their shoulder about who didn't want them in high school, and then them wielding that rage and anger on your everyday working 9-to-5 working class black man because they can't have the elite rich white black dudes or white dudes that they want. And when you look at this therapist, that's what you see. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No. I'm sorry. I thought you were no. But you're all I'm saying is I agree, and I'm looking at this comment. Shout out to Malarkey with the 5. It says she rejects potential black male clients because they want to see if she's fit for them. She's triggered and feels rejected by them. And I'm like, I thought it's a small statement, but I'm like, that makes so much sense. And that kind of goes back to what you were saying earlier, Mr. Z, about these women already coming with their own ills and their own beliefs and hurts and pains from when they were 7 or 9 or 12 or whatever. And they carry that. And then they get into positions of power and then they wield that against the men that once rejected them.
We see that. I mean, we see that all across academia. We see that in Hollywood. We see that with characters and how characters are portrayed by movie writers that we then find out are LGBTQ black men or LGBTQ black women or black women. What you see is that with these couple of therapists that we've seen over the past year or so, and from the Black Manosphere blowing the lid off of certain attorneys. You have the video that went semi-viral in the Black Manosphere of the prosecutor or the attorney arguing with the white male judge about throwing the book at a young man. I don't know if you ever saw that video. I have it. It's in. It was a video that was circulating of I don't know if she was a prosecutor or whatever. It was a black woman, and she was pressing the white male judge because the white male judge was trying to be lenient to this young black dude. It looked like he was maybe in his early 20s or late teens. Okay. And I don't know what happened, but the prosecutor was pushing the white male judge like, you being too lenient on this dude, right? So when we see these type of things, we have to understand, like, if we're the education system is not just about education, it's about indoctrination. Yes. And if we are to take black women's word for it, they're the most enrolled in college, right? What does that mean when you went to white American institutions for not just 12 years, but 16 years and 18 years. How do you then view Black men, right? So it reminds me of the miseducation of a Negro. What does it look like for so many Black women to be in these institutions for 2 decades? When they come out, how do you view Black men? Or are we saying that Black women are the one group of people in America that cannot be corrupted, that can't be indoctrinated, right? And if we're saying that, then are we saying that Black women are more than human?
That's obviously they're not. Obviously they're not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, I think to some degree we might even be making this more complex, because I go back to the nurses who got fired here in Atlanta because they were shitting on their patients who were pregnant, right? There were like 4 or 5 nurses. One of them was white, but they went on the internet and basically bashed all of the women that they were taking care of in the hospital.
Ugh,
right?
Horrible.
To some degree, we get into the misandry, but to some degree, we're looking at a generation of women who are not developed emotionally and mentally sufficiently. And I don't know which content creator said it, but because this whole thing about emotional
Arrested Development, that was me.
No. Yes.
Y'all gotta give Mr. Z his props. Now I'm playing. Go ahead.
What is it? The emotional intelligence. Yes.
Emotional
intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because Black women claim that we don't have it. But here's the thing.
Yeah.
Someone says, listen, most of the conversations that women have are not based in a kind of a adversarial or they're not really given I guess the training, meaning most of their relationships don't have the necessary challenges for them to really fully develop the need to be cooperative, for one, and that's what you're looking at, that women just do not want to cooperate. If you resist to any degree a Black woman, automatically you're seen as problematic. I had a girlfriend, right? She used to argue and fight with me. She used to tell me, why do you always have to say something different from what I say, right?
Wow. How dare you have your own opinion?
She hated it. She completely hated it. And she saw me as an adversary, and I wasn't being adversarial. I just had a different opinion about things, and it wasn't as if I was forcing her to think like I thought. She gave her opinion and I gave my opinion. I remember one time I met this young lady. She was a Buddhist, right? And that's, when I saw her, I was interested in her because she was a Buddhist, right? She was actually proselytizing to someone when I was on the train. I said, wow, this chick is interesting, right? This Black chick. Right?
Wait, she was what?
Conversation. Huh?
She was what on the train?
Proselytizing.
She was
preaching.
proselytizing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Preaching, yeah.
Spreading her word. Go ahead.
No, I thought it was prostituting something else, but my mistake. Go ahead.
Yeah. So essentially, the first conversation we had, right? She started talking about, just out of the blue, right? We were having a conversation. She started talking about how women have eating disorders and different things like that, and they have insecurities, right? And so she just brought this up, just cold turkey out of the blue, right? Just off topic. It wasn't even part of the conversation we were having. And I'm like, you know what? This is a good opportunity to tell her that men have insecurities too. And I said, you know what? I think actually men are actually even more insecure than women are, being that on a daily basis, we have to face challenges in terms of our mortality. You guys have to face challenges in terms of how people see you, and in terms of whether they like you or not. But we're looking at, when we walk out the door, we have to look at whether or not we're going to make it back home. And I said that in itself causes a level of insecurity. And you know what she said? She started cussing me out. She said I hated women. Yes. She said I wasn't a man, you know, but she said, listen to your voice. You know, you you talk like a
but brother Ian, you know what that is? That is what
That's
I think what ends up happening is that intersectionality has so thoroughly informed minority groups, right? That it's a jockey for who can win oppression Olympics. And what
right.
ends up happening is that for me to really win the oppression Olympics, I must pretty much sidestep or sideline what you're saying. What your little struggle? Oh, that's cute. That's a little struggle, right? When all the data really shows what black men are faced with, nobody actually likes looking at those numbers though, right?
They
So
really don't.
you know,
They don't.
yeah, and that's all that is. So like going back to the therapist, this therapist just shows you that what we have is emotionally stunted, educated people. We have people that have gone to school for some 8, 10, sorry, 4, 6, and 8 years after high school. They're very educated, but they're emotionally stunted. And every once in a while, if not all the time, every once in a while, that lack of maturity, that emotional, lack of development, it shines through. And you see
Well,
this with the therapist. I'm sorry, go ahead.
take it a little further. It's
Go
a
ahead.
black female psychosis.
Yeah.
That's how we clinically diagnose it in the field. Black
Mhm.
female psychosis that goes directly back to slavery. Now, uh, how do black females see the world? Blacks, every black female chooses a mate based on what? Based on her relationship with her father. She she allu-
Mm.
she alluded to that in her in her in her email
Mhm.
when she referred to her stepfather and not having a bond. But we in the field of psychology, we call that projectionism. She's projecting her lack of fatherly bond upon the stepfather, and we have to unpack it and be able to interpret it. What she exhibits the signs of being raped or molested by a father as a young girl, and like Maya Angelou said, unhealed wounds bleed into all areas and aspects of your life.
And
Hmm.
my
I hate
Angelou
to
would
use
know.
I hate to use
Yes.
a liberal term, but at this point, black men literally have no safe place.
Right.
Um, it's like
Facts.
I always say that to myself. It's like, am I being treated differently when I go to the CVS counter and I'm buying, something from the pharmacy or something from the grocery store? I've actually seen, I've actually been, in line and I've seen a white man be treated with respect, the black woman being treated very warmly, and as soon as it gets to me, it's just dead. It's just,
It's
evil eye.
cold. It's cold and sterile.
Right. And now it's like down to the therapist. And the internet thing is the internet thing, but now I have to wonder, like, if my boss is a black woman, does that hurt my ability to do my job? Does it hurt my ability to get hired? You know what I'm saying? Me, I work in law enforcement. Imagine I said, because black women question our ability to protect, I'm not going to protect and serve black women when I'm called upon. Imagine I said
Wow.
that. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying?
Hmm.
So this is what I'm saying. If you feel a certain way about men, okay,
Well,
you have your
in your
opinion.
case,
Real quick, let me just finish. Okay,
Yeah.
you
no,
have
I
your
like
opinion.
your police. I want your police analogy you gave. In your case, you won't
Mm,
be able to give as much justice as your white counterpart.
right. And they already have their issues with justice. But anyway, so now my question is, okay, you have your issues with black men. That's one thing. At least be professional. At least give me the fair shot that I would give you. You know what I'm saying? Dislike is
But
dislike.
that's
Well,
impossible.
I want to
That's
say because
impossible in this
the
field.
reason why you receive, I think a lot of black men in particular, receive bad service or unprofessional service from black women is for a couple of reasons. The reason that they do it is because black women, generally speaking, don't want black men to get used to respect. And that's why they're so against passport bros. They don't want you to get used to respect. Once you get used to respect, you start demanding it in relationships, and they can't have that because that's the first step towards white women, or first step towards Brazil or something like that. First step towards the passport office. So they don't want you to get used to respect. That's why they do that. And the reason that they continue to do it is because Black men, we let them. And it's unfortunate but true. You see, we have this whole no snitching culture, and we have this whole, sister, oh my sister. I will snitch on a bad waitress so quick. She will get 1 star with her name in the title. I do not care. The Better Business Bureau will get a call. I do not care. Do not roll your neck. Do not snap your fingers at me. Serve me the steak. Do not do that. I don't care. We could be at Target. In fact, I feel like going to Target and snitching on a black chick right now. I will do it all the time. Don't let them get away with that. They are at work. You are a customer.
No, but you can't do that because and many times when I've complained, if there's a black woman, oh God, she'll come in and cuss me out just the same as that.
If y'all don't mind, let me pause this real quick to everybody. Let me forward this real quick.
Yelp, Better Business Bureau, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Eventually, a white person will see it.
Let me pause this. So what we're saying here is this is what 50 years of Black women being beyond reproach looks like in the Black community. Right? So when you have 50 years of telling Black women that all their relations with Black men, that somehow it's Black men's fault, what ends up happening is they can't separate that even in their professional life. So they're taking their childhood traumas, their youthful rejection, even their adult traumas into the workforce. And so they can't do their duty with Black men in general, quite frankly, but Black men specifically, they can't be professional with you because of all that pent up "these Negroes ain't ish" rhetoric that we've been pushing, particularly in the Black community.
Right.
No, you're right. I'm not understand what I'm saying. What I'm saying is all of that rhetoric for decades is how you get here with the lack of professionalism. I'm not giving them an excuse. I'm saying that is how you get to where we are. Right now, we have to have a more honest conversation about Black women in particular not being beyond reproach when it comes to their relationships with Black men, both intimately but also professionally. Right? Until you can have an honest conversation about, first, like I said, power. Who has power in the Black community, how they wield it, and who white society, primarily white men, use as the colonizing agent within the Black community. Until you can have that conversation, you can't have a real conversation about these people that are in professional environments, but when it comes to you as a Black man, XY chromosome Black, they cannot respect you, right? Because they have whatever issues and they've been allowed to by white society to disrespect you. And I'll pause right there.
It's dangerous. But I did have a question for Shay.
They've been allowed to disrespect us by us. Let's be clear. The issues that they have with whomever, they still have with white men. Like the whole unwillingness to serve. They have a history with white men and women as well. They do.
Yeah.
However, that it does not translate to that because they know Karen is out there. With that Yelp account.
Karen get a call. Karen get a call.
Exactly.
And I think also there's a mixture of self-hatred that I think aggravates what both of you guys alluded to, because I agree, Game Changer, it's like we absolutely do have a history with white America that is not positive historically. That absolutely, but you don't see that vitriol really towards them. Well, except for diverses who don't like white women. But apart from that, you don't really see that. But I think
at the same time, that white man occupies the position of God in her head.
Well, yeah, and that's what I'm saying.
There's a God complex.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There is there is a self-hatred right component, and then I think to that point that can lead to kind of what you said, the God complex, to see white is right, the white man's ISIS quota, all of that. Now, I know somebody had a question. I want to make sure somebody had a question for me.
I did real quick. Was the email about her not servicing Black men recent, and was the tweets that you brought up, was it prior to her email?
So the only tweet that was prior, the one from what I showed you, the only tweet that was done before, like the tweet that went viral, was the one where she said, "Hey, I'm opening up a membership for women." All of the other ones were pretty much in a response to the tweet that she did earlier this week, or I think late last week, where she's like, I'm not seeing black men. And then everything after that point was just her either defending why she's not seeing black men or retweeting other people who were coming to her defense.
But the one about her stepdad, that came before though, right?
Oh no, you're right. No, I'm sorry. And then towards the end, okay, so towards the end there were a couple of the ones about protecting black women need protection from black men. That was actually tweeted, I think, either last year or 2021. So that was
okay. So this is the question. This is why I asked that question.
Been there.
This is why I asked that question. What if the people that were coming to her asking if she's right for them saw those tweets and said, "Well, this woman might have issues with
bias. She definitely has bias." When I saw that tweet, I was like, "If you want to give her a benefit of the doubt, now you can't." I'm like, she literally had a whole tweet, and then she retweeted. I was like, if you want to believe she's not misandrist anymore, she literally retweeted something like I think yesterday, 2 days ago, that said misandry is fake. Basically, it doesn't exist.
So,
well, can I ask you this, Shay? When she did she say black females need protection, or did she say black women need protection?
She said black women need. Actually, I could bring it up completely. Let me see, and I go back. Black women need protection from black men, is what she said. Or no, sorry, protect black women. Wait, sorry, because my thing is hiding it.
Protect black women also means protect black women from black men. I have it. I have a screenshot. I screenshot all the misandrist stuff.
No, it's right there at the bottom. The reason why I ask is because she referred to men as males earlier. When she say I no longer want to support males and stuff. See, that's a clear indication of feminism, of somebody who's a feminist or highly influenced by feminists. The fact that she refers to like right now, notice how she said black women, need protection. Now, of course, she could say black females, which would imply women and girls, because girls should need protection as well, right? However, she made it a point to say black women. So she obviously identifies women as women and, black men as less than.
Well, and I think to add on to that, what you see, because I keep on saying this, right? One of my favorite quotes, and I say it all the time, is the internet will expose us. In reality, we're going to expose ourselves on the internet.
Yeah.
What you see with this males talk, right, is first of all, not acknowledging you as an adult man, right? Number one. But number two, it is a form of disrespect. And going to what the brother was saying about feminism, if at the base of all of your education is a feminist lens, then what that means is that you're viewing things adversarially with men. So it doesn't matter what environment you find yourself in. It is a zero-sum game with men. So if you find yourself being a therapist, your lens is a feminist lens. Men, in particular, black men, even more particularly than that, will be seen as defective black girls. And because we live in a racist white supremacist society, also defective black white boys. And I've said this before to a content creator with a huge channel. I said, the way we're socializing black boys in this society is that they're both defective white boys and defective black girls simultaneously. Right? So when you become an adult, you're a defective black woman and a defective white man. So you don't have the money, the power, the prestige of the white man, and you don't have the social consciousness, the morality, and the sense of justice of black women. You take that and you put that in a mind of a therapist, a black female therapist that has daddy issues and has scorn, hurt, broken heart issues, and you get this toxic sludge mix of a therapist speaking about protecting black women from black men in this society. Like I said before, if you're saying that, who are you asking to protect, black women? Who is supposed to be protecting black women?
It goes back to the slave master.
Well, I think that I think that what they're projecting isn't what they actually feel. I think that this whole inferiority thing that they are, claiming that the black men have, this inferiority complex that they claim that we have or should have, they really want us to feel inferior. And there's a particular reason why, and this goes back to what Terrence was saying about projection, is because they see themselves as having an inferior vagina. And so, which means that it's far less capable of seducing a man than a superior vagina, one possessed by women with real hair. So what they wind up doing is in projecting that, they're like, okay,
Shay's face right now.
I'm trying to keep this pro educated.
No, it's clinical. That's why I say vagina. I didn't use a pejorative, or I mean, I didn't use a colloquialism. I say vagina, you know. But what I'm saying is, you know, it's a vaginal inferiority complex, and as a result, if you are going to try to, you know, sell an inferior product, you have to do so with somebody who you can only do so with somebody who feels inferior himself.
Game changer.
He has to feel right quick. He has to feel like, okay, this is all I'm worth. I'm worth a woman that's 40 pounds overweight. I'm worth a woman who had her hair shipped in, you know, through a steamboat. Right up
This thing ain't nothing.
Like I deserve this attitude. I deserve being yelled at. Like, you know, you have to, they can only deal with men with self-esteem.
So compromise men. Yeah.
Exactly.
Penis envy and vagina envy.
So basically, from what I understand, you're alluding to the fact these women already come in with a sense of low self-esteem, and which is why there's this constant need, which is what I believe. There's this constant need of validation. Black women are queens, goddesses, Queen Mother Earth, because internally they feel like they're the bottom of the barrel, and so they have
not low self-esteem, but
let me finish real quick. So they have that inferiority complex, and then they go and because of that, they go and they try to put down the men to essentially accept that.
Exactly.
That's right. What you're
to accept an inferior product. You know, it's kind of like you don't have much money to get your kids a Christmas gift, so you tell them that they've been naughty.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Here's an example for y'all.
Oh yeah, you only deserve this. You know how your other friends, they got a Nintendo system, and well, you know, here's some, you know, the bread twisties. I saved up 8 of those, and I made an action figure out of it. Merry Christmas! Like, really, you know, you can't afford better, but you tell the kids that they don't deserve better.
Well, that's the law of relationships. You treat others the way you treat and see yourself.
Yeah, that's true.
You attract yourself.
Yeah,
and her self-esteem is not. She doesn't have low self-esteem. She has completely destroyed self-esteem. She's in a mental and psychological grave, and she's trying to pull everybody else down with her, like we've seen in the case of Dracula and Frankenstein.
Y'all ever see maybe I think it was back in like maybe 07, 08, they had this skit about like Southern rappers called But Shorties. And it was like the funniest thing in the world, right? For those of you that remember. And it was mocking the way these people rap and kind of their style. And when I think about that, I think about this society pretty much telling Black people you're not handicapped, you're handy-capable, right? So it's you see what I'm saying? It's like the insult. And so when I see how Black women, like these people, how they speak about themselves and about Black men, I think about that, right? Like, it's not, we're not handicapped, we're handy-capable, right? It's a backhanded insult. It's not admitting what you are or the situation you find yourself in. And I'm saying this to what Game Changer was saying, which is these people already come in with the inferiority complex, or they already come in thinking of themselves as not enough. And so they think that because they're not enough, of course they're going to be with compromised males, compromised men, right? And then they have
that they are compromised.
Exactly, and all they have for you is disrespect. Because why would I respect you? You're with me. I know you're compromised because you're with me, and I know I'm not a great person, right? So so I think the end result of that is, once again, when these people get in professional environments, they know how to respect people. Don't get it twisted. They know how to respect people. They just don't know how to respect you outside of fear. So when Game Changer and others were speaking about calling, I don't know whose background that is. Somebody near mute up. Their background is atrocious right now. Okay, no, it's not me. But no. So when Game Changer, I can't remember who it was that was speaking about, calling the authorities or writing something in Yelp. Okay, so writing something in Yelp, that speaks to fear. What's frightening is what we're finding out is that Black women don't know how to respect Black men outside of fear of white authorities. And that is what we're finding. Yeah.
They don't want Black men to feel like they deserve respect.
Yeah.
Once again, because once a man feels respected, he's going to seek superior vagina. You know, kind of like prisoners, once they get free, they seek non-prison food. Like,
Yeah.
it's one of those things. It's human nature. They keep you in this state, and also because trauma has been our bond, you know, for so long. Meaning, you know, we identify our Blackness is closely tied to our traumatic experiences with our history in this country. You know, and that is what made us, you know, like, oh, we want to form this community, and we want to, you know, we came together because of trauma. And now that the trauma is gone, you know, we need to come together based on you get me a sandwich and you losing weight and you having natural hair, you know, and you treat me right. We need to come together on other things because, you know, there's no more back of the bus.
Let me address this, because somebody talking real reckless, I'm not going to say their name, and they said we don't deserve respect. Let me say this. There's a baseline of respect you give everyone when you first meet them, and there's disrespect. What we're speaking about is the disrespect from Black women. So that means you go above and beyond to be extra, right? So the baseline of meeting someone, you don't talking crazy to someone when you first meet them. Of course, unless you're one of these losers in the comment section talking about Black men, right? So when you first meet someone, people give everyone a baseline of respect. That's why whenever you hear people say, I just met this person and they just told me their whole life story. Baseline of respect when you first meet someone. What we're finding is that Black women think that they can walk in the door speaking to Black men that they don't know, not just with a baseline of respect, but disrespectfully. So it's not like you're putting us on a pedestal, and it's not like you're giving us a baseline of respect. You're walking in the door disrespectful. That's what we're saying to that loser lady in the comments. And I'll pause right there. Sorry, y'all.
And that's where the protection conversation begins. You know, because basically you have a group of people who want to be as disrespectful as they can get away with. And then once they, you know, habitually step over that line, once they become a habitual line stepper and step it, and then, you know, there's retaliation, then that's when they call out for protection.
Right.
You know,
okay,
like,
real quick. I'm sorry. I just want to acknowledge Super Chats real quick, and then you can finish. Shout out to you, Daily Wrap Up Crew, for the generous Super Chat. I appreciate
that. Go the money. That go the money.
I also saw some. I think it was Corvus Clave. I hope I didn't butcher that. I'm sorry if I did. It says, yeah, the racist feminists dominate therapy. They have trained Black women therapists to internalize their notion of the Black men as the enemy. I think that is absolute. Can
I say this, Shay? Oh, I'm sorry. Go.
Okay, one more chat, and then I'll let you go. It says Ricardo Cray with $4.99. It says supporting good women all 2023. Thank you so much.
Let me say this to Game Changer real quick, Shay. You know, I said this one time on another channel, which is protection is a preventative measure. Vengeance is what a lot of people ask for. They're not asking for protection. We have to start asking Black women, and I mean that, you know, rhetorically. I'm not saying for y'all to really ask them if you're not really around them. But we need to start asking Black women, are you asking for protection or are you asking for vengeance? Protection is a preventative measure. If I tell you don't go out with that skirt, that is a form of protection. If I tell you don't go down that street, that's a form of protection. If I tell you don't date that dude, that's a form of protection. Now, if something happens to you afterward, you can't scream, oh, nobody's protecting me. You're not asking me to protect you at that point. You're asking me to enact vengeance on whoever or whatever after the situation. Protection, remember, us having a gun in the house as a form of protection, that's why they call it a form of protection before the fact, right? Anything after the fact is vengeance, right? That's how you get the whole don't shoot somebody in the back rules and laws, because it's vengeance after he turns his back and runs. So, you know, I'm just tying that in to make sure that people understand what protection really is. Protection is as small as telling you don't go down that street, don't date that dude, don't wear that. And vengeance is what it seems as many women are actually asking for vengeance. I know, Dad, you told me no, don't date this dude, but we went to this party and he touched me the wrong way. And now you want vengeance. It's not protection if your dad doesn't do anything at that point. You know, and I'll pause right there.
And you know, I wanted to also mention. And maybe you guys have seen the video with Lena Horne where she said she wasn't strong enough to marry a Black man because she didn't know, you know, the experience, you know, or what it took, the strength it took for a Black man to exist and to live in our society. And she said she just wasn't able to marry the Black man that she was with. She ended up marrying a white man. So essentially. So essentially when I was making the statement about the development of black women, I mean, black women have been told, that everything that they do is okay. Whether, and it could be completely subpar, but they will be told, that it's okay, and that goes well in relationships. That goes in terms of their that goes in terms of their their
Brother,
career
you're breaking
and
up
their.
just a little bit.
Okay,
Yeah.
can you hear me? Okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
you were.
that goes. Oh, okay, yeah. So what I'm saying is essentially the idea of the development, what I was saying before, that they're not developed in the way back. So essentially,
Nah, you definitely need to get it in a better
goal.
place. I didn't hear none of that. You gotta
Yeah,
get it
it's
in a better
pretty
place.
bad, brother.
Nothing.
Damn.
Shout out to you,
Go ahead.
NRG with 5. It says, I have a coworker who dated black men before, but is now seeing a rich white man. She is so determined she lost a lot of weight and brags about getting a rich white man.
Yeah, as she should. As she should.
Round of applause.
Getting with a rich man of any race is an accomplishment. Like that's So absolutely. Like I would brag if I was with a supermodel white woman. Especially a rich one. So yeah, she should brag. I mean, like that's something to brag about.
No, that's prostitution.
No, I got one better. Why is she still working though?
Oh, good point.
If you with the rich white dude, why are you still working? I'm just saying.
Well, I get a lot of pushback too. Now I think a lot of this is gaslighting, but it's like of course I love black love, and that's going to be my preference, and that's what I would like to push for, and I would like to bring on more black wives if I can find them. But if somebody wants to date or marry out, I don't really care. I'm like a black man, a black woman. My issue is the way that it's promoted, like it's some level up situation, and I'm like. And like it's some new idea, and we already know that. I'm like, no, it is not a new idea for black women to be sleeping with white men. That's not new. That's been happening since the beginning of this nation, and it is not, like I don't know. We shouldn't be bragging about being a side piece. Like being a side piece is nothing new. That's kind of baked into the setup in America. So, like you mentioned, yeah, you can a right rich guy may sleep with you. He may fly you out for a bit, but to Mr. Keith's point, okay, where's the ring? When you're talking about building, when you're talking about taking on that man's last name, that's when things get real.
Somebody's background, you're echoing. You got to put your YouTube down in the background. But to that, Shay, that is but one, gaslighting, and two, coping mechanism. So if the studies are to be believed about where black people rank black women specifically, and Asian dudes and whatever, the coping mechanism is, oh, I'm just gonna go get me a white dude, like you picking him off of a tree or something like that. You could just walk up to the tree and just pick a leaf off the tree, and you just picking a white dude off the tree, right? So a rich white dude just, so number one, but number two, it's very, very gaslighting, right? So it's I'm going to use these, fictional Superman, omniscient, omnipotent characters to gaslight black men into working themselves to death, to be the richest people in the world, to build me Wakanda. That way, like a brother was saying in the comments, I could freestyle and do whatever I want to do under their umbrella, right? So I'm not beholden to any one man, because black men have built such a great social safety net that I get to do whatever I want to do, and I never have to be out in that rain and deal with the consequences of my actions. That's what all of this really is. That's what all of this really is I want to go outside. I want to do what I want to do with whoever I want to do it with, be as mean, being as insufferable as humanly possible, and then use the mythical, magical white man to gaslight black men into building Wakanda. That way I never have to deal with the consequences of my actions, of my thoughts, of my feelings.
Yeah.
I really don't need personal respect from black women. Hold on real quick, because I haven't spoken for a while. Let me just get into
each
it.
other. For example,
real quick.
Okay, I don't know what's going on. Okay, let Jermaine, you can go.
Yeah, so
and then you can go.
I really don't need the personal respect from black women. I really just need for the interactions when it's something regarding business or whatever the case may be, for it to be professional. That's all I really need. But I wanted to get into, because Shay, you typically talk about black women's disassociation with black men, right? And I think that's where this problem stems from. I think Black people have been through so much. I forget what, like black exploitation, menstrual shows, where
Yep.
we have this bad image of ourselves. And pardon me for using this example, but you're in a room and it smells like someone farted, right? And the person that did it points at him like, "Yo, you farted," or whatever the case may be, and they want to shift the blame to somebody else because everybody's looking at them. I think a lot of this comes from that, where Black people have this inferior image amongst all races, right?
Well,
And
it's
Black
not a
women
it's
want to
Let me
pretend
ask you
like
this, brother.
they're
Let
not
me
a
Jermaine,
ask
part of it.
you, Jermaine.
Jermaine,
Do you
Jermaine,
feel,
it's not a disassociation. It's a war. It's a war between black males and black females.
But what I'm talking
so
about is
Jermaine, do you?
where it sparks from, because they have this sense of they want to pretend like they're not a part of the reason Black people are in this position that they're in. That's why they get so mad when we talk about single women raising kids and how much of an effect it has on them being criminals or
Yeah,
being promiscuous or
they
being
they get
Well,
uneducated,
let me
they
ask you
get
this, brother.
triggered.
and they
Terrence,
get
if I may.
triggered by that type of stuff,
Right.
right? So this is where a lot of this stems from. Because notice they keep saying we're bashing them when we're saying the most. We're talking about being functional in society, like not twerking on a dinner table is bad. When we say
At a
that's
public
bad, that
restaurant.
is considered
Right.
bashing.
Right.
Right.
You know what I
Can
mean?
I, can
Right.
They don't want to be a part of that stereotype.
Or
Well,
twerking.
that's
I ask you this,
What
Jermaine?
what
Wait. Okay. Game changer. I know you have
Right.
something to say.
Yeah, thank you.
Mhm.
Do you feel inferior because of the minstrels, the Jim Crows, the Sam boats and stuff like that? Do you feel inferior because of that?
Me personally, I if I have to think consciously, I would say no.
Yeah,
But
and I
but
think that
subconsciously is the question.
well, subconsciously, do you feel that way?
I don't know. That's something I have to really dive deep into.
Yeah, I
Because
delve deep, and I could tell you I don't care about any of that, and I can definitively say that those people are not me. And the reason why that's important is because I think that that is why there now exists a gender war between Black men and Black women. And that's because we don't feel inferior any longer. The mindset of Black men have shifted and they don't really know what to do with a group of men that don't have an inferiority complex, because now the seduction technique is a lot different. Before it was just appease his bruised ego, call a man who feels like a peasant king and he will treat you like a queen because he has that inferiority complex. Like, you could call me king all you want to. If you don't lose that weight and get that hair in control, I don't want to hear nothing you say. And that is the problem. They haven't changed their seduction technique. They trying to pretend like, we some Jim Crow era dudes that, that all you have to do is just rub the back of your head when you complain about Whitey. Miss me with that. I have
Game changer, one better, bro. You talking all carrot? They don't got carrot no more. They got stick. That's what the whole white dude is for now. That's what the mythical, magical white man and gaslighting used for. So when you say, stroke this man's bruised ego, excuse me, that's all carrot, right? We don't have carrot no more. It's all stick. It's like this therapist said, protecting Black women means protecting Black women from Black men. Also, that's stick. That's a low level threat of calling the authorities on Black men. So it's we're not even in the era of carrot anymore. That's 1960s, 1950s, and prior. Now we're in the era of the stick, right? So the stick is.
That's what the
Yeah,
war
go ahead.
is.
Yeah.
That's what the gender war is.
Yeah. You're right. You're right. Mm-hmm.
I mean, because no, they use the carrot and stick technique, on great grandpa and stuff like that. That's what they use. They gave them the carrot and that worked, but if they didn't, they could always call you the white man B and why are you at the back of the bus? They could always do that. They just never had to because the carrot was enough. Now that the men have changed, and we don't have this inferiority complex, they're using this stick. What do you think Cynthia G represents? She represents the stick. She's
exactly.
You're beta male. You're this. It's like, listen, nothing you call me. There isn't a stick big enough to make me want that. So like, you have to change your tactics, and the only tactic that'll work, and this goes to the woman that got timed out in the chat room saying something about my mama. No, the only tactic that will work, ladies, listen to me good, is to increase the value of your vagina. That is the only tactic and technique that will work.
Game Changer is the worst. This is the worst.
Yeah.
You know why it's funny? No, but you know the same.
Someone's comment. I just want to steal someone's comment.
Go
Someone
ahead.
said that's why we as black men need the Mercedes and the true religion jeans just to look attractive to black women. Now, the
Hysterical.
person that said that it doesn't affect me, I don't have the inferiority complex. But how many black men did that comment just apply to? I'd say
None.
big
No,
number.
no, hold on. If a woman tells you you need this, this, and this, tell them that you just need a pair of gray sweatpants to be attractive to white women. What kind of
Hysterical.
crap is that? What kind of crap is that? I have never overspent on clothes or shoes or anything like that.
Well, we can have a better conversation about materialism, right? So, like, you know, if, like I said, if black people consume the most social media, we know this, right? Black women in particular, black people, black little girls, black women consume the most media. That's commercials. The television show is a commercial within itself, and then a commercial is a commercial. So you're gonna get that materialism. So yes, the bins and whatnot. So going to what Game Changer was saying, yeah, in different communities and different groups of people, I don't have to have all of these things. Yes, women do want a certain level of stability, and yes, they want a couple of nice things. But this overemphasis on materialism is because you've bought into consumerism and materialism because you actually don't have a strong sense of self. And so you try to make up for that strong sense of self with things. And that speaks to a big inferiority complex in black women. Go ahead.
It's more strategic than that.
Real quick, I do. What's going on, Kosher Clinician? I know we came in. I mentioned earlier that I wanted to hear from actual clinical therapists.
Well, my bad, you're about to die, so I'm about to drop. Shout out to Kosher Clinician, and I'll listen in.
Yeah.
No
Okay.
doubt.
Hey, Mr. Z. Also, real quick, hit me up with questions regarding that interview.
Oh yeah, please. So yeah, because I was so happy. I was like, okay, so that bought me a little bit of time because I can't wait for that.
Yeah, because I'm gonna send it to her maybe over the next week. So if you have any, send them over. And
okay.
Yeah.
I'm still thinking about it because I was like, oh man, like this is it, because I think this is gonna really, for those of y'all that don't understand why me and Shay are speaking cryptic, then you ain't really paying attention. You don't really know what's going on. But I really think this is gonna be a really important conversation to kind of set the tone of why certain people sound the way they do and what's actually going on these apps. And okay. Anyway, all right, Shay, later.
Peace.
All right, everyone.
All right.
Yeah, I'm gonna drop 2. Just wanted to say, everybody be professional, be kosher, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.
All right. Good.
Can you hear me, Shay? Can you hear me?
Hey. How's it
How
going?
you doing, dear? What's going on, ma'am?
I'm good. So thanks for calling in. I definitely wanted to hear from I gave my unprofessional opinion, but I definitely wanted to hear from somebody who's actually in the field.
Right. So you did a great job, Shay, giving a summation. I'm gonna actually use a piece of this. I'll do a show to parrot the conversation, but you did a great job giving a summation. So there was a lot of right and wrong in this therapist's assumption about clients. She does have a right to see whoever she wants to see.
Mm-hmm.
The quagmire is that she said, or more or less talked about this thing publicly. That was the issue. You can have a specialty. Like me as a therapist, I'm open to all populations, but I prefer to work with male clients because male clients many times is an underserved population, especially Black men.
Mm-hmm.
But what she did, she more or less personified what's called thinking errors. And the thinking error shade was generalization, overgeneralization, projection, and some displaced aggression as well. And so as therapists, we should not do any harm to the patient. But at the same time, therapists are still human, and therapists have to also use know what their limitations are. They have to be careful that they don't use a condition called countertransference. And countertransference shade is a condition where the therapist countertransfer unpleasant thoughts that were more or less impacted upon them in the past. And sometimes it can be what's called conscious and unconscious motivations. That's why self-awareness shade is the key. If a therapist is not aware of their own biases and their own issues concerning the past or the present, then it's not helpful to the therapeutic population. In therapy, there's a such thing, shade, called a therapeutic alliance. but also there's a such thing called therapeutic congruence. That therapeutic alliance and that therapeutic congruence is vital in helping the therapeutic relationship. So if that therapist have some unresolved issues, and like you did a great job talking about radicalization, liberal indoctrination, many times they don't see their own unconscious biases or pathologies. And because they don't see their unconscious biases or pathologies, they lack self-awareness in addressing the deficit that a lot of these men are struggling with. So there are a lot of issues, Shay, in this whole tribe between this particular woman. And even though she has a right to see who she wants to see, she didn't do anything particularly illegal per se, but it does sound like that it goes against the code of ethics because we have a right to see what we want to see, but you should not more or less go public with it with your displeasure because it could impact the clients she's dealt with in the past, or more or less make the profession look bad, if that makes sense.
No, that makes total sense. That makes complete sense.
Right.
Yeah.
And gender bias is not promoted in the field. I'm in the field too.
Okay.
Well, can I ask the two of you something? Because the way she worded it, I mean, I do understand that a person can have a specialty or a specialized group of people that they wish to deal with. Somebody got static. But the way she worded it, she didn't say women only. She made it a point to say no men. And
Right.
even though the definition is the same, it really says the intent behind the person. For example, I seen in Walnut Creek there, and it was funny. I took a picture of it. I seen a sign where a person, I don't know if it was man or woman, said divorce lawyer, men only. I thought it was hilarious. And but it goes to, it's a different intent. It hits different. Had he said, or had he or she said divorce lawyer, no women allowed, it would be a completely different, even though the results are the same, it's a completely different intent behind the meaning. Because one is inclusivity. Right quick, brother. Because one is inclusivity and the other one is deliberately exclusivity. And what she did was she worded it that way to provoke a response and then reacted to that response. What are you professionals thought on that?
Yeah.
But you know what that goes back to? That takes us directly, subconsciously and subliminally back to the whites only signs and the colored only signs that we saw during
even
the
those signs are inclusive. Like no blacks would be more what she's saying.
Yeah, but it's at the same time it's pejorative as well.
There's nothing pejorative about white.
Whites only. I didn't say a white sign. I said whites only. It's pejorative because it's racially discriminatory. And what she's doing is gender discrimination, sex discrimination, and that is equally destructive.
Right. She definitely has some issues with overgeneralization. When you can't overgeneralize a population of men, as Shay said or articulated early. She does all. Listen, as a therapist, I got the right to say my specialty population is black men, but I can't go public and say I don't work with women because that's pejorative. If that is your qualm, you need to keep it to yourself. You don't
Exactly.
denigrate yourself by saying it publicly. But there are factions in population like LGBTQ where they mostly work with people that more or less follow their worldview. But here's the misnomer, Shay. Many presume and assume that the therapeutic process is static and there's not going to be any biases. But no, it's not. In theory, it should be static, but it's evolving because all therapists have unconscious pathologies that they deal with, and sometimes they elicit those unconscious pathologies to their patient population. That's why it's good for therapists to have another therapist that's a seasoned therapist that's fair and neutral. However, as you said earlier, when you have been indoctrinated under liberal ideologies, and those liberal ideologies are not consistent with the mentality, the well-being, and the humanity of men, but particularly black men, then it becomes a problem because what you're doing, you're perpetuating the thing that you said you vowed not to do, which is to do no harm to human beings
To the
and be
client.
willing to serve a population that's underserved. Black men are underserved population. Historically, we have been underserved, and also historically, Black people have never seen therapy as a how can I say, a solvent to help them deal with a lot of the issues that they are dealing with. That's why a lot of times men don't go to Black female therapists, or men don't go to therapy at all, because they have their own stigmas or preconceived notions about the therapeutic process. But the
Mm-hmm.
therapeutic process, Shay, is very powerful once you get a therapist that can work with you. That therapist's worldview is congruent with your worldview. Like, I'm more of a traditionalist therapist. I mean, I believe in traditionalism and family, and not saying I won't work with other populations per se, but I feel that my practice and my specialty will be more around Black male issues. That's why I use the Kosher Clinicians like a synthetic way to talk about urban issues while inculcating some therapeutic concepts. And so, if you take it to a whole, I'm being a little tangential right there, but one would argue that's why the passport movement is becoming so proliferate, so powerful, because it's an alternate form of therapy for men to get their needs met. Because many times here in the confines of America, their needs are not getting met, sadly. So that's my take on it.
Well, okay. I think my question didn't really hit right. So I'll condense
Yeah,
it.
I didn't hear your question, game changer. I just
Yeah.
popped in. I'm actually at the office right now. I didn't hear your question.
Oh yeah, no worries, no worries. So I'll rephrase it this way.
Mm-hmm.
Would the reaction be different had she said women only as opposed to no men?
Oh, definitely. Oh, right. I see your point. Right.
Yeah.
I think if she had said women only, I don't think she would have got probably got no backlash.
Now, even though they both have the same outcome, now from a psychological perspective, why do you think she said no men when she could have said women only and didn't receive any backlash? Do you think
Well,
that she
right. Well, it's consistent with what Shay said earlier. It's unhealed pathology. It's ruminating through vicarious trauma of bad relationships, or dealing with men that more or less played a role in her downfall. Listen, a lot of people can be chronologically game changer a certain age, but when it comes down to arrested development, she could still be in what's called intimacy versus isolation, consistent with Eric Erickson. Some people are still in an arrested stage of their development where they have not graduated to the stage of their development that's consistent with their chronological age. So,
they're still stuck at their worst unhealed, unresolved trauma in their
right.
childhood.
Yes, sir. Right, right. And that's why I said a lot of them could be vicarious trauma, not only from childhood per se, but also from relationships. We all should go through successive stages of our psychosocial development. There are people that are still in trust versus mistrust, but they could be 35 years old. So they're still in unresolved, or in an undeveloped mind state. Also based on psychoanalytic theory, it could be regression, because regression is a primitive id. It's primitive. It's not. It's not evolved. It's primitive. And so sometimes, because it's primitive, it's unconscious, and they don't see what the unconscious pathology is. And that unconscious pathology is not only ruminated, but it's projected to others. And many times that projection is based on people they haven't done anything to them. So it's a myriad of factors. But I would definitely look at the psychosocial stages of development and look at how that plays a role in her implicit biases towards Black men. Because Shay did a great job. She's right. I'm not gonna say all Black women are. There's some good sisters. Shay's a good sister. I've met some good. I've been married for 27 years. My wife is a Black woman. But there are issues in America with our women. But I'm not gonna say all Black women are bad, because that's a thinking error. That's like magnification or catastrophizing. That's a thinking error, and it causes cognitive distortions, to say the least. So she needs to go to a therapist and do the work, but I don't think she's going to do it, because, as Shay said earlier, because of the indoctrination. Even though Black men never played any role in policy making, they have more or less impacted Black women, or any women. Black men never created policies to oppress Black women, or women in general. But because she's been trained to think that Black men are bad, or the boogeyman, then she's going to continue to push the narrative and the agenda that we are the problem, we are the issues, and we are the pain, even though you, me, and game changers, we don't even know who the woman is.
Well, I want to give a counter theory, and trust me, I'm not in that field. I have a completely different, unrelated field of study.
Right.
I think she's an idiot, and I know that there's
So that's your counter theory, that she's an idiot?
Yeah. And
that's not exactly a clinical diagnosis.
Yeah, I know.
Right.
But like I say, it's not my field of study. But here's why, and I put this against, what the two of you were saying about, childhood and arrested development and something like that. And, children don't behave that way. They don't. So,
what do you mean? What do you mean they don't behave that way?
Well, they don't do stuff like the stuff that she did, even if given the opportunity. This isn't a matter of maturity. Like it's not many 15-year-olds that behave that way, or at whatever age.
Quite the contrary. Children cry out. The greatest motivation in the human condition is the craving to be appreciated, and
right.
And we cry out for attention. We cry out for attention, approval, acceptance, and several other A words. And this is what she's doing. This is a cry. This is a cry for help in her own coded language.
Right.
And we have to take that coded language and interpret it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And
I get that part. Yeah.
To parrot that sentiment, a fellow clinician, there's a concept called choice theory, and that's predicated in reality therapy. And it basically says, consistent with Dr. William Glasser, that needs drive behaviors. Needs drive behaviors. It's based on 5 elemental principles. It's based on power, fun, freedom, belonging, and survival. If any of those 5 elemental principles have been void in this woman's life, and it sounds like it's power and maybe even survival to some degree, then she might choose behaviors that are not consistent with what's called socially acceptable behaviors. And because of that, that's where the projection occurs, where she's projecting her pain and her feelings to others. So that's why we all got to do, even therapists have to do shallow work. It's just like telling a doctor, just because he's a doctor, he don't have to go to another doctor. Oh yeah, doctors go to doctors. Preachers need other pastors to pray for them, because just because he's a preacher doesn't mean he doesn't need prayer. Professionals are still human beings. It just means we have the requisite knowledge and the requisite information to help us heal other people. But you can never be competent or more or less optimized at your level until you become circumspect and cerebral and knowing what your pathologies are, as you hope to deal with populations that are broken, to say the least.
And she needs to, at the basis of that, is wanting to.
Hey, Terrence, I'm sorry. I keep on hearing this static. That's why I think you're getting me. I'm hearing this static, so it's kind of hard for me to make sense of what's going on. And then when you unmute, it'll you can't hear totally.
How about now?
No, I'm still hearing it. I'm still hearing it. Yeah. I don't know if it's something else. But guys, this has been great. I actually do have to wrap this up pretty soon. Okay. So
I'm gonna drop off, Shay. Thank you, dear. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, definitely.
Right.
We'll be in touch.
No doubt. All right.
All right. Thanks a lot, brother.
Parents, game changer. If you guys have any final thoughts, and then I will wrap this up for today.
Yeah, I'll go first. Fellas, when people like Kosher Clinician and Terrence use a bunch of Latin to describe a chick, stay away from her. I don't speak Latin, but when they start giving Latin paragraphs on how much of an imbecile she is, then just stay away. You don't want to deal with that Latin. You don't have to. I don't care what she looks like. I don't care how she speaks. Like once you start hearing, you're like, oh, they're regressing to the pathology of child. Like, hey, okay, I'm staying away. Thanks, Doc. I'm gone. Appreciate it. That's my 2 cents. Yeah, whenever the psychologist sounds like a pharmacist, then you just walk. That's when you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for calling in. That was
all right. Thanks. Thanks for having me.
Take care. Okay, Terrence, what do you have on the topic?
Do I sound okay?
Yeah, you sound good now.
Okay. But like my brother clinician alluded to, the real problem and the only solution in her problem and problematic behavior lies in her wanting to be self-aware.
Right.
That's the only way that she can solve this. And at this point in time in her development, she doesn't have the self-awareness.
Right.
Nobody has told her, hey, you stink. Nobody has said, hey, the emperor ain't got no clothes on. And so she has to have that that epiphany.
Yeah.
And that light seeing moment. See, the first rule of solving a problem, and that me and my clinician have, is to define the problem.
Right.
And the first thing a therapist says, whether it's on TV or in real life, is what seems to be your problem. And law is based on precedent. And the precedent in this case is if you call yourself a Black female mental health professional, then you have to be aware of the sisters that came before you, like Dr. Frances Cress Welsing or Scheherazade Ali or Julia Hare. And she exhibits no signs of knowing anything about any of those people. And she's what we see in her is a sick person trying to give out medicine. And that's paradoxical, and it's not going to work. And I'll leave you with this. If you look in the word therapist, there are two words. One is the, and the other one is you know what. This tells us if you don't have somebody that can do the healing work, that's what's going to happen to you. And this is a sick person that's trying to give out medicine for some false motivation and a false reason. She's sick herself, and she's not. You have to ask yourself, as one of her potential clients, is this person capable of healing me? No person is capable of healing you unless they've overcome something and healed from something themselves. If they hadn't taken that journey, then they're not capable of healing you. And like my brother talked about before, there's Maslow. You can.
Okay, I'm sorry. The static's getting kind of rough. I was not able to hear the last few things that you said.
How about now? Can you hear me now?
Yes. No.
I'm still staticky.
You're still staticky, but no, I think we understand what you're saying. Thank you, Terrence.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, sweetie.
I'm sure we'll talk later.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you have a good one.
You too.
Okay.
Yes, Shay. I'll leave on this note. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. You're good.
You know, denial, Shay, is the antecedent, and recovery is the measure to help all human beings become the better versions of themselves. I'll leave you with this note. Teddy Pendergrass said, "You can't hide from yourself. Everywhere you go, there you are." Until she look in the mirror, see where she needs to heal from wherever area in her life, like you were saying about not getting the tutelage from her father or whoever, she's still gonna go in or continue to go in this karmic cycle where she's projecting her pain based on past relationships and the men that did her well. And so on that note, thank you, dear, for allowing me to come on. I will be talking about this topic on my own channel using some clips from you. And I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I look forward to it.
All right, bye-bye.
All right, you have a good one. All right. Well, this was fun, guys. If you came in a little late, no worries. You can go back and catch the replay. Game Changer, shout out to you for the 2. It says B2W. I did not say stay away from Latin woman. No, I understand what you're saying. You're talking about if people have to use Latin words and all these scientific words to describe her current emotional state, stay away. I think that's pretty clear. Shout out to you, R2D1 with the 20. Thank you so much. That was very generous. Also, I did see a few cash apps come through that I would like to acknowledge real quick. Let's see. I got a 5 from a Daniel Thompson. Thank you, Daniel. And then I have a 20 from a Chris. It says, great show. Thank you so much. Also, Bill Gibbs with the 5. Again, thank you all of you guys for your support. Thanks for being here. Like, share, subscribe. You guys know the drill. And I hope you found this interesting. Again, if you missed it, if you want to catch some of the videos, some of the different receipts, no problem. I plan on having this up. You can go catch a replay. And stay tuned for other upcoming content. I have a fun live tomorrow. I'll be bringing on a special guest to react to some Swirler and Divester content and to hopefully get to the bottom of what's really driving this conversation, and ultimately what should women do who actually do want to find healthy and successful relationships. So that should be fun. Be sure to hit the notification bell for that. And then I have another live on Thursday where I'm going to be coming together with Security Boss. I have to schedule it, but we're going to be talking about the box, right? And purity, celibacy, born again versions, all that jazz. So stay tuned for that. That should be fun. And yeah, like, share, subscribe, support your favorite content creators. Y'all know the drill. Thanks for being here, guys. And yeah, we'll talk later, okay? Bye.